Welcome back to the best division in football. This is the Week 14 edition of the Giant Overreaction. I appreciate all of y'all pulling up bright and early, man. I saw y'all in the chat. The chat was booming early. So, man, this was probably the biggest blowout I can remember in my whole entire New York Giants fandom. This one, I'll tell you what, for most fans, I know this one really hurt. But if you tuned into our show on Thursday and you tuned into the parlay on Sunday, I was kind of like, just getting myself ready for this big L. I used the word dog walk throughout the whole entire preview section of, Awthentik and the Beard and whatnot. And I kind of prepared myself for this loss, to be honest. So on Sunday, when we were getting straight up trampled in that game, it was kind of laughable for me because it's like I kind of expected it. At the same time, I didn't expect the Eagles to run up the scoreboard the way they did. They made this one really feel like a college kind of blowout type of game. It ended up being 48-22. And, I heard a lot of things throughout the week about what the Giants should do to win this game. I heard the saying, any given Sunday, a ton. I heard just keep Jalen Hurts in the pocket. I heard just force him to throw the ball, and we'll be able to have a chance at winning this game. Win the turnover battle was another one. And also I heard that we had the talent to be able to contain him and keep him in the pocket. And that was definitely not the case in this game. The Eagles clinched a playoff berth and are the NFL's only undefeated team on the road this season with a 6-0 record on the road. They've only got one blemish on their entire record this whole entire season, and that's against the Washington Commanders. But, for those of the people that are saying, like, this game, we knew we were going to get blown out. The odds said it, the team said it as far as how strong the Eagles are of a team. But then they're looking at this Washington game going, oh, well, this is really our playoff game. Well, Washington is a team that did beat the Philadelphia Eagles. And you got to look at the NFL week to week, man. That's just what it is, man. It's a week-to-week type of league. You got to look at the matchups that present themselves. One of the ones I talked about on Sunday was the Jaguars going up against the Tennessee Titans. You got to look at all the matchups and all the phases of the game that could lean a team towards a victory, and especially a blowout victory like this. We're going to kind of recap this game a little bit. We're going to do today a little bit different as well. I got a couple Giant overreactions as always. And for those of y'all that don't know, if you see a statement on the screen and you agree with the statement on the screen, take the under, put a U in the chat. If you think the statement on the screen is an overreaction, put an O in the chat. And if you think you're going to need a little bit more time and you want to take the push, put a P in the chat. But we're going to start this one off a little bit different. I want to allow y'all to get some of y'all frustrations off because going around on Twitter yesterday, I feel like the fan base overreacted enough where we don't got to go over 1,000 overreactions today, to keep it real. On social media yesterday, quite frankly, it was pretty disgusting, some of the stuff I was seeing going around the internet. And we only really got to get into that, to be honest, man. Y'all can go over there and check things out. You can check my my Twitter feed, check my replies and whatnot, see some of the stuff I was bringing attention to. And, you could be the judge for yourself on some of that. But I do want to start the show off proper first. And let me refresh these. And I want to give a couple of shout outs to some of y'all that came out here, jumped into the building bright and early, man. Shout out to the homie one time, Jameson, first person in the building. Y'all know what it is. Big salute to J-Mo in the building. Gregory pulled up bright and early, says, damn you, Jameson, you are always first. You'll find a way to beat him. Put that notification bell on. Shout out to Gregory, man. Your Cowboys escaped a close one yesterday against the Houston Texans, man. And I thought that was going to be a blowout victory. I was bragging about it with the Beard on the parlay, saying, watch, this one's going to be at least a 17-point victory for the Cowboys. And I told him I'd be texting him. I didn't send out the text. That game was extremely close. Shout out to Stan one time in the building. He says, Sock Passe fam, stay warm at FedEx Field this coming Sunday because this collapse is looking icy for our team right now. Yeah, it definitely is. And speaking of the collapse, that was something we talked about on a couple of episodes ago. That was one of the Giant overreactions was, was the strength of schedule early on for the Giants kind of smoke and mirrors, and is the collapse coming? A lot of people said that was an overreaction, but right now it's really looking like that was probably the proper move. And we should have took the under on that one and probably agreed with that statement, to be for real. But shout out to you, Stan. Appreciate you pulling up, man. We've been having a bunch of conversations off air on Twitter and the DMs, man, talking some really good stuff, man. I definitely appreciate you reaching out and rocking with me. Shout out to the homie one time. Michael Knight is in the building. Michael Knight been in like every stream, man. Big salute to Michael Knight one time, man. I appreciate you pulling up. He says, let the therapy session begin. That's facts, man. I'm going to need it myself. Really haven't got a chance to really talk to too many people about this game. I talked to a couple people in the group thread we got going on Twitter. Shout out to Rob Zero one time for that one. and really just chopping it up with Stan, man. And you know, I've been telling Stan, you know, I brought the sniper out, man, because I was definitely in sniper mode yesterday on on Twitter. And like I said, check the feed. Definitely some hilarious stuff in there. Also some just egregious nonsense that was going around on social media. But shout out to Michael Knight one time. Shout out to Jay Jean in the building. I'm about to start calling you Jay Jean one time. You already know, man. Haitian background in the building. Just another Therapy Monday. Y'all know what it is, man. Big shout out to you. Mac, the Giants fan, is in the building. Definitely going to need some serious therapy today. That's facts. Shout out to Mac, the Giants fan, man. Y'all go over there. Go subscribe to him. Mac, I chimed in. I was listening in to y'all when Adam Costas popped up, man. That was a great portion of that stream, man. I actually saved the clip, man, if you want it, because it's something that I want to bring to the Giants fans' attention, maybe not on today's show, but definitely soon, because I think Adam is, you know, his frustrations are rightfully due, man. He's got some, I mean, he's talking that real talk, to keep it real with you, man. So shout out to Mac, shout out to Adam one time, man. Both great Giants content creators in the building one time. Let me see what Stan's saying here. He says, Anthony Richardson was at the game at MetLife yesterday. Yup, I did peep that. I find that interesting, just 6 days after declaring, and his representation as report with Joe Shane from Shane's time in Buffalo. Yeah, that's awesome. And if we could land a guy like Anthony Richardson, that would be amazing. We're going to definitely get into that a little bit here when we start talking about this game and we get off into some of these overreactions. So shout out to Stan one time. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets is in the building. Salute to the day one. What's poppin', fam? I'm still optimistic. It's still LFG, NYG. Facts. All the time. Till the casket dips, brother. You know what it is. Appreciate you pulling up, rocking with us on this afternoon one time. Steven Arce is in the building one time, too. He says, I'm not overreacting from yesterday. Banged up Saquon and still key players on defense out. What did you expect? Hopefully Saquon and Leo, Xavier, and Adoree can get healthy for next week and the rest of the year. Yeah, that's facts right there. We need them. We need them. And you're seeing it, man. You're seeing it. It's like the secondary is looking sloppy out there, man. Stopping the run has been a problem for the New York Giants all season long, and not having Leonard Williams out there obviously makes that worse. Coaching staff was talking about that in the presser after the game. You know, missing Leonard Williams was definitely a big thing here. Adoree Jackson, Xavier McKinney, man, that secondary has not looked the same. And I think it's putting a lot more pressure on guys like Julian Love to go out there and try and do things. You got 3/4 of this secondary pretty much banged up. Did get Fabian Moreau back last week, so we've had him for the past 2 weeks. Hasn't had his greatest games. You know, he's I think it's putting more pressure on him as well, too. So getting Xavier back, getting Adoree back, we really need that, because this defense has been the backbone of this team the whole entire year, man. And now not having these key pieces is starting to show up for sure. It's definitely starting to show up for sure. Let me get this going over here one time, too. But big shout out to Steven Arce, man. Steven Arce, you've been very active, man, on these streams. I definitely appreciate you pulling up, rocking with us, man. And, yeah, get the vent. We're going to get the vent today. We're going to get to talk about it. Texas boy is in the building. He said Giants with the facepalm emoji. Hey, we could say the facepalm emoji for y'all. Y'all just struggled up against a 110-1 Houston Texans team that we know is going to get the #1 pick. So outside of Philadelphia Eagles and possibly the Washington Commanders, it's a lot of facepalming going on. But big salute to your Cowboys, man. Y'all did escape that effort from the Houston Texans, man, and a win is a win is a win, and that's exactly what y'all got. Big shout out to Texas boy one time in the building. Sean G is in the building one time. He says this team has a lot of work to do. That JV playbook was still in effect yesterday. Yeah, I reiterated that on my Twitter, man. Like, this playbook and this whole conservative style of offense is really how you pamper and treat a junior varsity quarterback. I can speak from experience. These are some of the plays that they were calling for me when I was a 14-year-old playing quarterback in high school. So for me, I don't think it's all on the coaching staff, because these guys come from Buffalo. These guys come from Kansas City. We know if it was up to them, they would be throwing that ball all over the field. We know that 100%. We definitely do. But shout out to Sean G one time for pulling up in the building, man. Let me see. Simon Coleman is in the building. Shout out Simon Coleman. He says, RTDB gang. You already know what it is, man. Gotta run the damn ball. We didn't do that well this past game, and I won't say that's the only reason we lost the game, but definitely one of them. But shout out to Simon Coleman one time in the building. Shout out to Mike K in the building, too, rocking with us. Appreciate you pulling up, Mike K. Who else we got in the building one time here, man? Nick the Wick is in the building. Big shout out to Nick the Wick, man. That's fam right there. One of the day ones on this channel, man. Appreciate you pulling up, man. He said the murder at the Meadowlands. I got to take a swig off that. That's wild. That's a great nickname for what just happened on Sunday at MetLife, too. Yeah, but big shout out to Nick DeWitt one time, man, pulling up bright and early, man. We already got a rack of y'all in the building. The Beard is in the building one time rocking with us, man. I know that was great for him to watch that game from the sidelines with his Commanders on their bye one time. We got a big game coming up on Sunday. They flexed that one out to Sunday night too, man. That's going to be that's the playoffs for us right now. That's the season right there. Shout out to Nick, though. Shout out to the Beard one time. I see Dallas Mustang is in the building. I see Alpha Mason in the building. Lou Mateo is in the building. Real people in the building. What's poppin', real people? Hope all is well, brother. Jeff is in the building one time. He says, I didn't watch this game, was watching Red Zone. I knew we had a 0% chance. Yeah, like I was telling people this too. Like the chances of the Giants winning this game were slim to none. The rain, coming into the forecast, I thought that was going to help us out a little bit. But instead, we end up dropping a punt. So it really didn't help us out at all in this game. Tyrod Taylor had that fumble coming in the second half there in relief for Daniel Jones, and I was calling for that. As soon as halftime hit, I was like, you should put Daniel Jones on the bench and bring Tyrod Taylor out right now. Get Daniel Jones ready for next week. I caught a lot of flack on Twitter about that. People coming into my mentions wearing the cape and whatnot, like, oh, you don't want your starting quarterback, to be his confidence shaking and all this. Another quarterback coming in, getting garbage time statistics. That's going to not look well. The fan base is going to cling on to that. For me, it was just the game was over. I mean, after the first quarter, the game was pretty much over. So you got to go out there. You got to bring in the backups. Let the starters rest up. Saquon, I like what they did with him. They kept him on that pitch count. And, as soon as this game got out of hand, you really didn't see Saquon Barkley out there a lot. But I agree with you. I said we had a 0% chance. I saw even a message from or a tweet from Cop Pizzle where he was saying something like, fandoms are set up different, and it's embarrassing that fans walked into this game expecting an L. Call it what you want to, man. I always keep it funky. I'm not about to be up here trying to rile myself up and trying to lie to y'all saying like, oh, we got a chance in this game any given Sunday, blah, blah, blah. That ain't what it is. I knew that the Eagles were probably the best team in the entire NFL right now when you talk about all phases of the game. Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs are a good team, but the Eagles got it across the board. Running back department, wide receivers, tight ends, defense, interior offensive line on the outside, edge rushers. They got the secondary. They have literally every position checkmarked. And you saw it against the New York Giants, man. They literally dog-walked us in this game. So I'm not here to lie to y'all about nothing, man. I mean, everybody's got their own opinions, but one thing I'm going to always do, I'm never going to tell people how to root for your team. I had one of the homies on my Twitter saying like, oh, you want us to actually go to the playoffs? I'm like, yeah, I would love to back into the playoffs, man. I told him like this, look, bro, I'm about to be 40 years old. I got about a good 25 or 30 good more summers left before they're going to dip my casket. I'm trying to see as many playoff games from the New York Giants as I possibly can. I'm not telling you need to or you want to see playoff games from the New York Giants. Root for this team however you want to as a fan. For me, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm not going to be out here worried about no other man or woman out here rooting for their team and how they do it. If you're a Giants fan, you're a Giants fan. That's fantastic. That's one thing we have in common. It doesn't mean that we're going to have everything in common and we're going to see all walks of life eye to eye. I see some Giants fans coming into my mentions and some of the stuff they say to me, bro, it's no way we will be friends in real life, which is why I'm here trying to build this community of positivity, not necessarily with like wearing fan goggles, but just a place where people could come through, vent their problems, talk about their frustrations with this football team and get things off their chest. And that's what it is. It is what it is at this point. I'm not going to be telling anybody how to root for their team. And I agree with you on this one, Jeff. We had no chance of winning this game. Absolutely no chance. Shout out to you, Jeff. And shout out to Barry one time in the building, man. All is well, man. I'm chilling. I told the Beard, man, I was like, you're gonna see me sitting like my dad. My dad used to watch TV with one leg crossed, and he would just be chilling. And that's how I looked at this game. I literally, the whole time, for the most part, was chilling. I had a couple of frustrations. My girl can vouch for this because I did watch this game upstairs, where I would stand up and be like, scream some curse words, maybe a couple there, but I would always calm myself back down because I knew what the expectation was for this game, and I tried to not inflate my perspective on it and just be a bit realistic about it. But shout out to Barry one time in the building. Noor is in the building. Shout out to Noor one time in the building. Let me see. I'm just trying to catch up with y'all. Zeke is in the building. I appreciate you reaching out my DM, Zeke, and asking about the album, man. Appreciate you supporting the tunes, brother. That means a lot right there, man. And supporting this channel, more importantly, man, and getting to talk some football with y'all. Salute to Zeke. Shout out to Big Dash. Dash was one of the optimistic New York Giants fans. I was checking out his content throughout the week, and I don't blame him. He wants to stay positive, trying to find a way for this New York Giants team to win. And I saw the vibes after. It's kind of why I didn't really set myself up like that, Big Dash. I didn't want the letdown. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to just be like as realistic as I could, try to assess this. I knew the Eagles were a very multi-dimensional team, and if you stop one thing, they can easily pivot and go to another thing with that offense especially, and you saw it in this game. I talked about this entering the week. The Packers, they struggled against the run. What did the Eagles do? They ran the ball. You can go back to the preview show. I did this with the beard. The Titans, they struggled against the pass, but they were better against the run. So what did the Eagles do? They came into that game, they passed the ball. The Eagles went 350-plus yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground against the Packers. Then they went 350-plus passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns against the Titans. The Giants' weakness is the run game. We can't stop the run. So they came out here and they really took it to us with this run. But shout out to Big Dash. I saw your preview video and I saw your recap video, man. Your content is high-level content, bro. I definitely appreciate what you bring to the community. And I love what you're saying in these spaces, bro. You keeping it realistic with these folks. Definitely appreciate it. I'm here to help you, brother. I am here to help you. But big shout out to Big Dash Knows. Make sure y'all go subscribe to him, man. Show some love over there. Big Dash doing big things over there on his channel. Let me see what Jeff's saying about the Washington game. Jeff says, Washington didn't beat the Eagles. Stop. Eagles beat themselves. Too many turnovers. It was uncharacteristic. Now, look, I had a conversation with somebody on Twitter about this. The turnovers was definitely a thing in that game. But to me, the number one reason why the Washington Commanders were able to beat the Eagles, they kept Jalen Hurts on the sidelines. The Eagles had the ball for less than 17 minutes in that game. The Commanders had the ball for over 40 minutes. Now, turnovers is one thing, but let's not act like turnovers are going to always lead to leading in the time of possession. If you go back and you look at the Cowboys game against the Colts last week, they forced 5 turnovers. Guess who won the time of possession battle? The Indianapolis Colts did. So turnovers are great, especially when you're forcing them like the Cowboys did against the Colts. 5 turnovers, that's fantastic. You're probably going to beat a team if they turn the ball over 5 times. But let's not forget, the Washington Commanders turned the ball over 2 times themselves in that game. To me, the number one thing, without a doubt, was time of possession. Brian Robinson controlling that running game, keeping Jalen Hurts on the sidelines. Every time that camera panned over to Jalen Hurts, he was on the sidelines. The play discrepancy, I believe it was like 82 to 40-something, maybe like 47 in that game. The Washington Commanders are the only team to have the correct game plan to be able to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. And even with the turnovers, the last turnover was the biggest turnover for the Philadelphia Eagles in that game when Quez Watkins fumbled that ball. But still, the Commanders end up winning that game by a 2-score victory. I know one of them came right there at the end on a last-ditch effort from the Eagles, but to me, it was the perfect game plan, and it started with the time of possession. So I agree with you on the uncharacteristic turnovers, but for me, the number one thing in that one was definitely the time of possession, 100%. Let me see who else in the building. Jeffrey Harrell is in the building. Shout out to Jeffrey one time, man. He says, I got a feeling we're going to beat Washington. I hope so. Right now, I definitely don't got too many feelings outside of the way that the Eagles just took care of business. It's hard to come out after a big-time loss like that, man. That's a major blowout. You got to get your confidence back. You got to find a way to get this momentum back going. The Giants in their last 5 to 6 games have looked god-awful. Injuries, whatever you want to call it, interior O-line, banged-up secondary, bad defense, bad offense, not being able to run the ball. All of these things are factoring in to the New York Giants now having a terrible stretch. It's our worst stretch of the year, and this team is starting to look a lot like that team from last year. They got to find a way to get off the bench, man, and start winning some games here one time. Shout out to Sabrina one time in the building. I appreciate you pulling up, Queen. Appreciate that big time. Good to see you here in the building. Chris Peace is in the building. He says Twitter was on fire. I'm not going to say flames because it wasn't flames. It was on fire yesterday. That's facts right there. Big salute to Chris Peace one time in the building. Let me see what Dallas Mustang's saying right here. He said, got to say, man, you were 100% right about Hodgins. Dude might be a solid option going forward. I love Hodgins, man. He's got the body type, big wide receiver, man. He can go out there and make plays, and he knows how to get open. You know, most importantly, a lot of Giants fans complaining about separation, and Hodgins is definitely getting separation. Just back-to-back games now with a touchdown, man. He's doing his thing. I think he's definitely a piece moving forward. I even think he's an upgrade from a wide receiver that a lot of people in the offseason were very hype about from what he was doing in minicamp and in preseason, Colin Johnson. I think Hodgins is even an upgrade from that. So that's a great pickup by Brian Dable and Joe Sain there, man. I definitely like that pickup. Let me make sure I didn't miss nobody. Mr. Mini Guy is in the building one time, man. He says, yo, 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 done with school for the year. Big salute, man. I hope you're doing well in school, man. Keep them grades up. Do your thing over there. Fabian's in the building one time. What's popping, Fabian? Hope all is well. I got a couple of laughs out of them tweets, man. You had me rolling, brother. Appreciate you pulling up one time. We got Nova Nebula in the building one time. What's going on? Who else is in the building? I'm trying to catch up to y'all. Man of the Culture's in the building. He says, I want Daniel Jones gone, so I got to hear the discourse on him anymore. So I don't got to hear the discourse on him anymore. It's annoying, but we all know that it's just going to be repeated when the next guy ain't Mahomes, because that's what people want. Well, hopefully we can, hit the pot of gold when we draft our next quarterback, man, because I want better play at the quarterback position as well. And I'm going to be fair, just like I've been fair with Daniel Jones. We can't forget, man, homie's in his 4th year right now. It's time to put up or shut up, man. He's got about, 4 games left here to get it done. It's not looking too great. We'll see what the front office does moving forward, but we're going to talk about some of those in the overreaction, so hang tight. Appreciate you pulling up, man of the culture, definitely. Vinny G-Man is in the building one time. Shout out to Vinny G-Man, man. And I got about a good 2 hours. I got to get out of here about 3 o'clock. Got a session coming in here, but we're going to get to everything we got to get to for sure. Vinny says, great content. Do you think Saquon, Shepard, and Odell all go to a different team next year? Well, Odell's a free agent, so if you're saying just outside of New York, I would say Shepard and Odell are definitely going to be on different teams. Saquon, verdict's not out yet. We'll see. Saquon started the year real well, but appreciate you pulling up, Vinny. Let me see who else in the building. Kareem Yee is in the building. Shout out to Kareem Yee one time. Christian Bonilla is in the building. Shout out to Christian Bonilla. That's a new name, new face. Welcome to the family. I appreciate you joining the chat and rocking out with the fam today. Kai is in the building. Shout out, Kai. What's poppin', fam? Great win by your Cowboys. Showed a little bit of resiliency against a tough team yesterday. Clawing for a victory. Benny is in the building. What's going on, fam? Hope all is well with you, Benny, man, on your bye week for the Commanders there one time. Let me see. We just catching up one time. Alvaro's in the building. He says Tyrod was great yesterday. I wouldn't say Tyrod was great yesterday, but Tyrod did come in. We'll talk about that a little bit when I go over this recap of the game and we get into some of these overreactions. But he came in and he did some things. The fumble definitely was not a good look. I don't know if this is sarcasm or not, but Tyrod was Tyroding yesterday, if we want to call it that. Let me see. Lou Mateo says, this shit stems from Plaxico shooting himself. The black cat on the field, JPP blowing off his fingers, the boat trip, and McKinney accident. No other teams go through this. Damn, that's a whole video right there, man. That's a great point right there, man. Like, the curse of the New York Giants. You just named them all, man. That's a good point bringing all that up. Shout out to Lou Mateo one time in the building. Sean G giving us an update one time saying Richie James is in the concussion protocol. Yeah, the way he grabbed his helmet after that touchdown was a little bit scary there. You knew something was going on there. Appreciate you bringing that up to our attention, Sean G. Let me see. I just want to catch up. Lesnar's in the building. Shout out to Lesnar one time, man. That game hurt me, man. Yeah, it hurt me, but like I said earlier, man, I was very prepared for that one, man. And I just never let the stakes get too high. I thought that this was a game that the Giants were probably gonna lose, man. Shout out to John one time in the building. Appreciate John pulling up. I think that's a new face in the building one time as well. Let me see what else. Let me see. 84 is in the building. What's going on, 84? Hope all is well. He says, my brother, how you doing? I'm doing pretty good, fam. After games like that, you have to check on your strong content creators. My squad was struggling too. Hey, man, I appreciate you checking up on us, man. We doing well over here. We about to present this therapy session for the New York Giants, going to some notes, going to some stats, and then going to a couple of reactions, and I'm going to have y'all out of here by about 2:45, 2:50. Y'all know what it is. Appreciate you pulling up, 84. That means a lot, man. Definitely means a lot. Who else we got in the building here one time? I just want to make sure I get the most of y'all, or at least all of y'all. Crypto Moves is in the building one time. Yo, that was awful, AW. Hope we had played better. There are questions all around, including Barkley's health. Keep your head up in the building one time. You know what it is, man. I appreciate you pulling up, Crypto Moves. Big salute to you, brother. Let me see who else in the building. And save some of y'all questions if y'all can, because as I do some of these overreactions and go into some of these stats, we're going to definitely do a Q&A. I'm going to give y'all at least a good 30 minutes for Q&A. So even if you ask some of these questions and I missed them, make sure you reiterate some of these questions if you want to bring them to my attention and have a chat kind of, show their, what kind of thoughts they have on it as well. So definitely keep the questions. And when we do get the questions rolling in, make sure you put a Q and maybe like a colon right after it, just so I know that you want to bring in a question to the attention of everybody in the chat. And we'll get to them. We'll definitely get to all of them. Let me see who else is in the building one time. One oh so solid. That's a new name in the building too. Welcome to the fam. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for Anthony Richardson? If we could get Anthony Richardson in here in blue, bro, I'm gonna be extremely excited. This kid has dynamic playmaking potential. I seen this kid, man, on third down runs carrying half of the team in some of these games. He's got a big arm, great pocket presence, great pocket awareness. There are some things that are raw about his game, the footwork, the upper body mechanics, obviously. I haven't done my deep dive on Anthony Richardson yet, but I probably watched about 5 or 6 of his games. And there were some games there that he was looking god-awful in the beginning of the season. But never once did I question his ability. That's the thing. Anthony Richardson has all the abilities, man. The body type is crazy. He's a big quarterback. I think he could come into the league and definitely pull a Josh Allen to some extent, at least, man. He's got all the skill set to do it. Kid's a good runner, strong kid. Doesn't look like a college kid. That's the thing with a lot of the other quarterbacks. When I look at Bryce, when I look at Caleb Williams, who's out here doing damage out here. Probably won't be out here in this draft. Obviously, he's probably going to be next year. But still looks like a kid to me a little bit. And Anthony Richardson, he's got that man body type. He looks like a man that's ready to go into the NFL and maybe not be a starter day one, but maybe come into the season mid-season. So if we could find a way to get Anthony Richardson, I am going to be ecstatic. You best believe that. But I don't know. A lot of teams need quarterbacks, so we'll see how that goes. One oh so solid. Definitely appreciate you pulling up, bro. I don't remember seeing your face up in here, so welcome to the fam. And let me see who else we got up in here. William Meyer is in the building one time. Evan Spitzberg is in the building one time. Salute to Evan Spitzberg. That's a new name in the building. Denzio is in the building one time. Who else we got up in here, man? We catching up. Y'all know what it is. Kalen Dragon 56 is in the building. Kalen, my day one. I got to bring him up one time. He says, how you doing, man? It's been rough last month. It's been a rough last month for us. You're damn right about that, man. It's been rough. With every loss, I'm getting a little bit more adjusted to it and, keeping my calm, staying cool, staying collective, man, trying to do my best. But big shout out to Kalen one time in the building. John B is in the building one time. Big salute to John B in the building, man, with the Tupac vibes. Y'all already know, man, it's us against the world. Big shout out to John B in the building, man. Salute, fam. Let me see if we caught up. We almost down there. And my homie Flem Dog is in the building one time. What up, Flem? I hope all is well with you, brother. All right, y'all. So we all caught up. We're going to do a little recap here, so if you got some solid questions, obviously y'all can, have y'all conversations amongst yourself, man. I'm going to go through this game just a little bit here and go through some of these key notes here. And once we do that, then we can get off into some of these giant overreactions, man. It's going to be a good one, man. The Philadelphia Eagles definitely handled business, man, so there's a lot to talk about. So let's get into it, y'all. All right, y'all. So the Eagles now, they are on fire, man. Number one team in the NFL right now, if you ask me, especially offensively with what they're doing, man. The Eagles have now scored 123 points in 3 games. That's the most for the Eagles since 1950. My daddy wasn't even thinking about getting in the sheets with my mama back then. That's what's so wild. Now, the Giants trailed in this game at halftime 24-7. It was their largest halftime deficit of the year. We ended up losing the game 48-22. At one point, it was 41-14, and I'm just looking at this game like, what in the hell is going on? But that 24-7 is definitely the largest deficit of the year. It dates all the way back to last year. The Giants fell to 7-5-1, and y'all know, man, in our last 6 games now, we're 1-4-1. The game against Washington, that tie, of all these games, that one really hurts me the most because I feel like that game was right there for the taking, and offensively, the Giants just couldn't do it. We've talked about this enough. 21 total yards in the second half of regulation for the New York Giants in that game. 6 straight punts going into overtime and then ending the game with a missed field goal. That's not how you finish games. And when we saw Brian Dable take this job over, that was the one thing that we saw in the beginning of the season was the Giants were learning how to finish games and learning how to win games. It was the big difference, actually, from this regime, dating back to the Joe Judge, Jason Garrett regime, because with the Jason Garrett and Joe Judge regime, we lost a lot of games close, You would see these one-score losses all up and through those 2 years. And then in the beginning of this year, we won our 7 wins all came by one-score deficits. And even some of those losses were one-score deficits, early on in the season and early on when we started losing during this 6-game stretch here. But for the Eagles to really just handle business and beat us by this many points is kind of ridiculous. And now, as far as the division goes, the Giants are sitting at the bottom of the division right now. We got 2 division games remaining, but the Giants are 0-3-1 in the division right now. The Washington Commanders have 1 division win, so they got the one up on us there. So this game coming up against the Washington Commanders, this is pivotal. You talk about a must-win situation. It is the most must-win situation I can think of for the New York Giants in my recent history here, especially as far as covering the Giants. Because since I've been covering the Giants since about 2019, we've been pretty much a bad team. And this year's been the first year we've had a chance to see some victories here. But they got to get this division win. And not only get this division win, you got to put another loss on the books for the Washington Commanders because they're probably the number one team that's fighting for this 7th seed with the Giants, this 6th and this 7th seed. You got the Detroit Lions hanging around, and you got the Seattle Seahawks hanging around as well. And the Seattle Seahawks took an L last on Sunday to the Carolina Panthers, and that yields well for us. I mean, a lot of people are saying, why are you rooting for other teams to lose? Listen, man, I want to get into the playoffs. Me and the Beard, we got this thing, man. We want all 4 teams to get into the playoffs if it's possible. I would love to see that. And then who knows? Who knows what happens? Let's say the Giants and the Commanders get into the playoffs and both of them end up winning their first-round games. Maybe there's a chance somewhere down the road the Giants see the Commanders in a playoff game. And for me and my brother, that would be amazing. That would just be amazing. So for me, like I said, man, I got about 30 hot summers left, man. I need to see as many playoff games as I possibly can. I was one of the people that was rooting for the playoffs when we were 6-10 in 2020, and we beat the Dallas Cowboys the last week of the season. And the Commanders ended up, having that game against the Philadelphia Eagles where they ended up tanking and putting in Nate Sudfeld. I wanted them to finish out that game, and the Eagles didn't give us an opportunity to get into the playoffs. But, that's in the past. As far as this year, I want playoffs at all costs, okay? Now, the 48 points for the Philadelphia Eagles in this game against the Giants, it's the second most ever versus the New York Giants. I think 49 was the most. So they was right there, man, ready to break a record as far as most points scored up against the New York Giants. Philadelphia's 437 yards are the second highest total for a Giants opponent this season. Now, when you go back and you look at that Jacksonville Jaguars game, the more and more I dive into that, the more and more we got lucky. Right now, I'm working on a video, and I hope no content creators go out here and try and steal this video concept. But I'm working on a video that details the 5 comeback wins for Daniel Jones and the New York Giants. And when I was looking at that Jaguars comeback victory, I was like, yo, that's smoke. Most of these comeback victories from the New York Giants, you can't put them on a quarterback. I'm going to just keep it real with you. If you want to have that conversation with me on Twitter, we'll do that. But we kind of limited on time today. But I just wanted to let y'all know I'm working on a video with that and digging into them Jaguars numbers. If ATN don't fumble that ball, that game is over. Straight up, we are not going to win that game. But these are the most yards by a team. It's the second most yards by a team this season against the New York Giants. And number 1 was the Jacksonville Jaguars game where they put up 452 yards against us. That was October 23rd this year. The Eagles had 27 first downs, which tied a season high for us, allowing that many first downs, 27 first downs. The Jaguars also put up 27 first downs against the Giants in that earlier game this season as well. Philadelphia rushed for 253 yards, the highest total allowed by the Giants since 2014. So that goes to show you. Now, when I talked about the Eagles know how to attack your weakness, they did it against the Packers, who had a bad rush defense. They put up like 350 on them. Against the Titans, I said this in the opener, they have a terrible, terrible pass defense. They're down there at the bottom of the league. I think they got the second worst pass defense in the entire NFL. The Eagles found a way to attack that, and they put up 350-plus passing yards in that game and 3 touchdowns. And you see it in this game. They attacked the New York Giants' weakness, which was our rush defense, and they put up 253 yards, the most allowed by the Giants since 2014. That was against the Seattle Seahawks in that game. Now, the Eagles rushed for 4 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns by Miles Sanders, 1 by Boston Scott, and 1 by Jalen Hurts. And Boston Scott, man, if Boston Scott had a career against the New York Giants, that guy would definitely be a potential Hall of Famer or something, because Boston Scott, I think they said he had 8 touchdowns in 6 games against the New York Giants. I don't know what it is about Boston Scott, but he loved playing up against the New York Giants, and he definitely puts out a lot of productivity against us. But those 4 touchdowns, that's the second Giants opponent to rush for 4 scores in the last 4 games. So we got to find a way to start trying to stop the run. It's the one problem with the defense right now. That defense really can't stop the run outside of the injuries and whatnot that have definitely hampered this secondary and, made things a little bit more difficult, obviously. Miles Sanders, 144 rushing yards. Those are the most by a Giants opponent since Washington's Antonio Gibson ran for 146 yards against us in 2021. So a single player, that's the most rushing yards in a whole entire season there. That dated all the way back. It actually is 2 seasons because it was at the end of the year. It was January 9th. Now, Philadelphia's defense, they sacked the quarterback 7 times. I think I'm actually sure about this. It was 4 against Daniel Jones, 3 against Tyrod Taylor. The Giants were 4 for 13 on 3rd down, which that's been a reoccurring theme for the Giants. Our 3rd down offense is awful. It's been like that for most of the year. And the Eagles ran 4 more plays and had just 1 more drive than the New York Giants, right? But they outgained us by over 100 yards as far as total offense goes. They put up 437 yards total to the New York Giants 304. As a team, the Philadelphia Eagles averaged 8.2 yards per carry. The Giants averaged 5.3. Now, a lot of that came from that big run from Tyrod Taylor late in the game in garbage time. And Tyrod Taylor ended up being the leading rusher for the New York Giants, 2 carries for 40 yards. That cannot happen. You got players that played in 3/4 of the game. The whole game plan this time was to try to spread the ball as far as it goes with the running backs and how we utilize the running backs. And it does seem like, I won't say that the coaching staff is tapped into the fan base, but they're definitely tapped into the narratives that went wrong in that game last week. Now, last week, the New York Giants, they only gave the ball to Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley as far as the running game goes. Those were the only two people to have rushing attempts. A lot of fans, a lot of media, a lot of beat reporters were saying, how come y'all not giving, guys like Matt Breida, Gary Brightwell more attempts? And in this game, you could see, even with Saquon Barkley having a shoulder injury, I'm sure that equated to some more carries for the other running backs. They tried to give, some of these other running backs the ball. Gary Brightwell had 5 carries for 23 yards, and Matt Breida had 3 carries for 6 yards. But this is the thing, and I saw Bobby and Justin Pennick talking about this. They were talking about, building an offense that is predicated on the running back, but not building an offense that is predicated on the running game. And I thought that was a bar because, this offense is built around Saquon Barkley. But what about when you don't have a Saquon Barkley? What are you going to do there? Can you rely on these other running backs with the same scheme to be able to get yards on the ground? And it doesn't seem to be the case here. I mean, Matt Breida averaging 2 yards per carry. Gary Brightwell did have that one big run for 13 yards. I think that was the longest run by a running back on the day. So that kind of inflates his numbers just a little bit. But he was 4.6 yards per carry, much better. Saquon Barkley, 3.1 yards per carry. He only had 9 rushes for 28 yards. And this is the worst stretch of Saquon Barkley's year so far. Saquon Barkley already breached 1,000 yards, had some big games this year, some really big games this year. And you're seeing him kind of fall flat and come back down to earth. And for Giants fans, I know it's unpleasing. It's very unpleasing because we want to see the best Saquon Barkley we can. But I've been talking about this for a long time. You got to get a power back in there to pair with Saquon Barkley. This whole he's a bell cow running back, it's not it. And when you see a guy like CMC, yesterday against the Tampa Bay Bucks, there's one thing I noticed about CMC that's a little bit different than Saquon Barkley. Christian McCaffrey's a bit of more of a bruiser running back. Like, he can finish the runs a little bit stronger than a guy like Saquon Barkley. Now, I'm not saying Saquon can't finish the runs because we know Saquon can finish the runs, right? But when he's dealing with this injury, I think a lot of that has to do with the tough running that has gone into the beginning of the season for Saquon. And not to say he's like running out of gas, but if you had another running back here and paired him and did what the Giants have been so accustomed to doing throughout the years, when we had the thunder and lightning vibes and we even had the earth, wind, and fire when we had 3 running backs in the backfield. For me, it would pair nicely with Saquon Barkley if you had another bruiser-style running back to go with him to kind of get these short yards when the Giants need them, which honestly hasn't been the case because we've been set up for a lot of 2nd and long, 3rd and long, and haven't been able to see these short yardage situations as much as we would like to because of what's going on with the passing attack. All right, let me take a pause here and shout out to Nick the Wick one time, man. Definitely appreciate you with that $4.99 super chat one time. He says it's in our best interest if Philly keeps winning, then week 18 they bench their starters. We win 2 of Washington, Minnesota, Philly, and Indy, and we're in. Yeah, I mean, I've been on record saying that, man, crossing my fingers that the Philadelphia Eagles rest their starters the last week of the season. I don't see it happening. It really doesn't make sense because now the Eagles are locked up. They have their playoff, their berth, and they're probably going to win the NFC and probably have the number 1 seed. So I don't think it's beneficial for them to rest their starters week 17 or week 18 and then have a bye the first week to then have 3 weeks in between their next game and try to just turn it all right back on. I don't think that's smart. I'm pretty sure that Sirianni and the rest of that coaching staff over there is smart enough to know that's probably not a good idea. So I don't see them benching their starters in week 18. But you're right. You got to win 2. You got to win 2 here. You got to win. And this Washington one is the most important because if you don't beat Washington, they're going to have the tiebreaker on you regardless. So to beat them out, let's say Seattle goes on a run here or the Detroit Lions go on a run here and get in the mix, which Detroit right now is definitely on a run. They're playing great football. They just beat the Minnesota Vikings, who are probably going to end up getting the number 2 seed. It's going to get dicey. If the Giants can't beat Washington, it's going to get dicey because you're going to need one more win than them to have the position up over them. So somebody's going to be the odd man out. I definitely agree with you on this, Nick. We got to win 2. Definitely at least got to win 2. Some people are saying just beat Washington, just beat Washington. Man, do your own research is what I say, man. Don't just go up here and come up here listening to me. Don't just come up here listening to any one of your favorite content creators and what they say and just go with their narrative because you trust them. Do your research. Look at the schedules. Look at the remaining schedules for all of these teams as much as you can. Try to come to your best conclusion. A lot of this is just math. And I haven't even woke up today and really looked at the playoff picture, but I do know that Seattle took that loss to the Carolina Panthers, and I do know Detroit won their game. And now I know that the Commanders have the exact same record as the Giants, and they got the one up on us as far as the division goes. So for me, you got to take care of business. We got a couple of games left here. Go out there, try to take care of business, man. You are, Julian Love said this in the press conference. It's the first time in his career that they have been able to control their own destiny here. Go out there and do it. Shit, if you got to win 4 straight, do what you got to do. Go out there, play the best football you can. Hopefully we get healthy and the Giants can start winning some games. You know what I'm saying? We'll see how it goes, man. But big shout out to Nick the Wick, man. Day one right here, man. Been rocking with me for a long time. And definitely appreciate the support for the channel, man. That means a lot. Your presence here today means a lot, especially after a big New York Giants loss, man. Big salute to you. And Zach is in the building one time. Big shout out to Zach, man, for that $2 super chat. He says, Wink refuses to adjust. If it's broken, fix it. Yeah, and I think the hardest part here is to fix it. You know, there's not a lot of depth pieces on this team, and sometimes you got to go out there and just put out the best game plan you possibly can. If the Giants would have sat back in some type of zone defense here or something like that all day, we would have got even more decimated in this running game. I'm not a head coach. I'm not a defensive coordinator. I like what Wink Martindale has done throughout this season. He talked about how he's never seen anything in his whole entire career, like as far as how these injuries have gone for the New York Giants. And maybe this goes back to what homie was talking about earlier with the curse, man, with the curse with the New York Giants. These injuries, man, they've been piling up year after year after year after year. It's unfortunate, man. And, yeah, the defense didn't show up yesterday. We know that. We know that. The offense didn't help them out either. The offense couldn't sustain drives all damn day. So everything was broken yesterday for the New York Giants. And Wink, we talked about this. Wink is going to die on that blitz. I'm not mad at him. I'd rather die on the blitz than die on the soft zone like Patrick Graham was doing a couple years ago. So I'm not looking at Wink Martindale on this one going, man, you know, you got to change it up. They're strapped for talent on this defense. Our linebackers look pretty bad. Jalen Smith had a decent game, I will say, though. This was one of his better games, even though we got straight up dog walked in this game. But this was bad. This was bad. In the secondary, this looked bad this game. You know, Julian Love missing that interception is so uncharacteristic for him. He just said he misjudged the ball. He thought he thought the quarterback had overthrown the ball, and he thought he had a sure interception. But, he misjudged that, man. And we were just getting beat all day. And the Philadelphia Eagles, this is the crazy part. They didn't play their best football. They left a lot out there. Devonta Smith on that little corner route in the end zone or whatever that was over his outside shoulder, all you got to do is get down the other foot. You look at the drops from A.J. Brown. There was a drive there. I forget who the backup tight end was for the Philadelphia Eagles, Grant Calcaterra. He had a big drop in this one too. And they were all on the same drive. You saw it. Jalen Hurts dealing with drops. He had 3 drops on that drive. Don't forget the wheel route from, I believe that was either Miles Sanders or Boston Scott on the right sideline. Big drop. Ball is right in the breadbasket. And for the people that are saying Jalen Hurts can't throw it still, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you. Somebody in a Carl Banks thread, because I asked Carl Banks this. Carl Banks said some really good words about the rebuild for Brian Dable and Joe Shane. And, you got to look at this. You got to be able to see this through the leaves is what he was saying, or through the forest. He made a great metaphor about it. And I said, I agree with you 100%, Carl. But the real question here is, do you think the Giants have the quarterback that they need as far as the building pieces? And he said they don't have the wrong quarterback. And to me, that's like, it's a double negative. At the end of the day, you either got the guy or you don't got the guy. The offense was extremely broken. And for me, we're going to get into this a little bit, but for me, a big portion of why this offense is broken, it starts at the quarterback. I'm not saying the quarterback is the biggest problem on the field, but it starts at the quarterback. In this day and age in the NFL in 2022, you have to be able to have a quarterback that can buy time and be able to recognize when things are breaking down up front fast. Yesterday, in the Sunday night game with the Los Angeles Chargers and the Miami Dolphins, you see that from that quarterback. When you see Justin Herbert out there, as soon as it just looks like it's about to break down, he's peeling out trying to find a way. I'm not saying all of this is on Daniel Jones. I hope nobody gets that twisted, right? But for me, the quarterback is a part of a lot of the problems on this offense. It just is what it is. Defensively, this defense looked a lot better. They looked a lot better when they were healthy. And now you get these injuries here. You lose your captain on defense. think about when you lose the captain on offense, which is Daniel Jones, and what that looked like last year. It looked awful. And when we lose Saquon Barkley, the year before that, it looked awful. So we know what that can do to a defense, especially when the secondary is probably the strength of this defense. But the pass rush looks a lot better. I think we got to Jalen Hurts 4 times in this game. Wink Martindale going to die on his scheme. We knew that before we hired him as the head coach. We definitely know that. But shout out to Zach, man. I definitely appreciate that $2 super chat, man, and appreciate you rocking with us, man, on this Monday afternoon. Sit tight. We got a lot. We got a lot to go over. Let me see what Fabian's saying here. Fabian says, stop the excuses. It's all about lack of focus, discipline, and execution. Dable needs to figure it out quick, or we in for a rough ride. Yeah, for me, this is the first season, man. This is house money, man. You saw the salary cap situation with Brian Dable this year and with Joe Shane. I didn't expect much, man. I don't know what y'all expected, but I didn't expect over 8 wins. Kid Blue was saying this in the beginning of the year. Keeps looking at the schedule, and all he sees is 8 wins. And I was like, you kind of right, man, because the schedule definitely looks soft here up front. We won some unexpected games, but the Giants have definitely, superseded everybody's expectations, man, with 7 wins already. So we'll see what happens at the end of the season. But I'm not looking at the coaching staff too crazy, because look at these guys. Look at Brian Dable when he was in Buffalo. There were times where I was like, dude will not run the ball. Like, they throw in some of those playoff games, you're just looking at Josh Allen throwing the ball all over the field, and they just never go to the running backs. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs, Brian Kafka over there, he's the quarterback's coach and whatnot. Sure, he was helping out with what was going on with the offensive schemes. All Kansas City was doing was throwing the ball. So it's surprising to me, but I also understand it why they come over here to New York, and in this first year to rebuild, they're running the ball and playing this conservative nonsense. I think it's because they're strapped for talent. The interior offensive line is really bad right now. You're seeing a lot of guys get manhandled. The wide receiver core is, The quarterback is struggling throwing the ball down the field when he gets opportunities. We saw Kenny Golladay on the field in this game. I don't know if you saw it. He was wide open, no safety over the top, one-on-one, no throw. It's the consistent theme. It's been the same. There's a lot of problems with this offense. But for me, it's offensively. It's offensively that is the biggest problem with this Giants team. It's the offense. They can't score points. As soon as you see Philadelphia go up 24-7, it's over. It's over at that point, So that's definitely just what it is. They got to find a way to fix this offense. It's broken. And for me, a lot of fixing the offense, definitely you got to put onus on the quarterback. I think that's important to do. Like, don't just ignore that. Yeah, there's a lot of other problems, but I can't ignore what's going on with the quarterback. It's dink and dunk all day long. It's looking for the check down on purpose all day long. When he does get time, we don't take the shot. It's interesting. And obviously, we got to talk about Saquon Barkley. I mean, the regression of Saquon Barkley right now is definitely not helping his team when they built the identity to be around him. It's not helping the team. And Gregory says it right there. You need depth. You definitely need depth. That is what it is. 100%, man. We have no depth on this team. Players get hurt, and the Giants really have no answer. That's what it is. Shout out to John one time, man, for that $10 super chat. He says, what's up, Awthentik? It's John Kim. Okay, he got a little switch up on the name, man. I'm digging it. He says, I shortened my name because some people started spitting racist Asian jokes my way. Oh, that's garbage, man. That's unfortunate. You got to deal with that, man, but just ignore that as much as you can. He says, you saw the 49ers game yesterday, right? That's how I want the Giants to build, but that's just me. Yeah, that's a great way to build, but this whole do you think that the 49ers built that team like, we'll just ignore the quarterback until later? They drafted their guy. I've seen a lot of people saying, build it like the 49ers. The 49ers, they had a decent quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo. You can't forget that Jimmy Garoppolo was like 2 yards away from winning a Super Bowl when he missed that bomb by just a couple of yards. That might have been Debo. I can't remember who that was. But he missed a throw by a couple of yards to pretty much win the Super Bowl. It's not like they're looking at Jimmy Garoppolo like, dude is average and dinking dunking all day. He was all right. And as they were finding out that Jimmy G is pretty much the ceiling as a game manager, they went out there and drafted a quarterback. So I know a lot of Giants fans are saying this, like they want to see Daniel Jones re-signed. They're like, yo, build the team first. Build the team first. Why would we do that? The most important position on both sides of the ball is quarterback. If he's there, are we just going to ignore quarterbacks simply just to go build the team around him first? And I'm not 100% sure that that's what you're implying, but that's what I'm thinking you're implying is, build the team first. Allow average quarterback play. Build the team first so that you can get a guy like, Brock Purdy come out here and blow out the Bucs. The Bucs aren't a good team this year. It is what it is. I know they're about to win that division, possibly. We'll see what the Atlanta Falcons can do. I know they're probably going to win that division, but we got to bet. We're sitting at the bottom of our division with more wins than the Bucs. The Bucs got 6 wins on the year. So when you see Brock Purdy going out there, you also got to use your eyes. Did Brock Purdy look like he should be starting? Or did that look like necessity by the San Francisco 49ers? For me, it looked like necessity. And not having tape on Brock Purdy, I'm sure, doesn't help the Bucs. We'll see how it goes, next week. But the San Francisco 49ers do have a team. But do you look at that and go, that's going to be sustainable? Like, you think they're going to be able to beat a team like the Philadelphia Eagles in the playoffs? I wouldn't think so. To be honest, I wouldn't think so. Not with a quarterback like Brock Purdy, Definitely not with a quarterback like Brock Purdy. So I get it. There's not one right way to build a team. When you look at how the Rams built their team and whatnot, they were one of the most homegrown teams. Not a lot of people know that, but all the way up to 2021, they were one of 7 teams that had a roster that was 60% homegrown. So what they were doing was trading first-round picks, using capital to bring in proven players. I like that philosophy too. My thing is you got to build the team up. The Giants roster has big holes, but where they are solidified on the roster, they got some good pieces. When you look up front, that interior defensive line, when healthy, is really good. You got Kayvon on the outside. I mean, Azeez Ojulari is playing fantastic football right now. You go onto the offensive side of the ball. We got our left tackle. He didn't look that great yesterday. Looked all right. We have our right tackle, I would hope. We at least spent the draft capital, the top 10 draft capital to get him in here, Evan Neal. There was a conversation going around that I encourage everybody to go check out on Twitter. It was a thread between me, Sal, Tainer. Who else was in that? The homie Cross was in there, and I get down with the homie Cross. Cross is a very objective Giants fan. Bass was in there. A few others were in there. But they were talking about the 2017 Kansas City Chiefs team, right, in the transition to 2018. And somebody in there said, that was the same exact team that Patrick Mahomes inherited. And matter of fact, I have the graphic up here, so I could show it to y'all real quick. I just got to run through some of these files. I can show you the file real quick because I literally made a graphic that compared the 2 rosters right next to each other. And it's very similar to what we were dealing with. Here it goes right here, and I'll get this uploaded for y'all. The thing about that Kansas City Chiefs team is they had their left end, they had their right end, they also had their left tackle, and they had their right tackle, and they had a few pieces when it comes to the wide receiver department. But the overhaul from 2017 to 2018, and here it is, it's uploaded now. And John Kim, you could take a look at this too. But when you think about how you build the team and whatnot. But big shout out to you, John, too, for that $10 super chat, man. And also, man, just ignore all the racist stuff, man. I saw some racist stuff going around on Twitter after this L2. Just ignore it, man, or, shoot back. That's all you could really do. If somebody comes into my mentions or comes into, my comments with some ignorance, I'm going to give you some ignorance back. I'm going to still keep it authentic and keep it me, but I'm going to give you a little bit of ignorance back. So unfortunately, you got to deal with that, man. But just ignore that stuff. It's nothing, bro. You welcome here. That's what's most important. If you need a spot to talk about, your frustrations and vent for the New York Giants, nobody in here is going to give you that business. And if they do, they'll definitely be exited from this chat. The mod's going to handle that. Don't worry. But big salute to John one time. But let me show you all this comparison. Look at this comparison right here. So this is the difference between those two teams, 2017 into 2018. It was a complete overhaul of the secondary. Not one person from the secondary from 2017 is in the starting lineup in 2018. The linebacker core, pretty much a complete overhaul. Wide receiver core, you got 2 out of the 3 were completely swapped out. You had Travis Kelce there. You had Kareem Hunt there, who, in a couple years, the situation happened with him where they had to release him and he ended up going to the Browns. And then the quarterback change. So, and I know we're talking about look at the records, too. The Kansas City Chiefs in 2017, 9 wins? Or 10 wins. It was 10 wins. So you got to keep that into mind. They were a good team already, right? And I know the Giants, we probably are a little bit of smoke this year. Not a fraudulent team, but we're a little bit of smoke this year. But you look at how they built that roster. It wasn't just swapping out the quarterback. A lot of people want to think that, they built the team up. They were winning games, don't get me wrong. But that whole situation dated all the way back to Matt Castle, Elvis Gerback, what was the homie's name? They had another quarterback there. I keep wanting to say Tyler Thigpen, but I think that was a wide receiver. But nonetheless, this was a lengthy rebuild for the Kansas City Chiefs. and they were stuck for a while. They were stuck for a while there. You know, they had to make this quarterback leap, because when you get a guy like Patrick Mahomes from a guy like Alex Smith, it's drastic. It's drastic. And Patrick Mahomes wasn't a guy that was on no top 5 draft boards here, okay? He was drafted at number 10. The Kansas City Chiefs traded up to go get him. So there are multiple ways that you can build a team, I would say. There's a lot of different ways you can build a team. And I saw another super chat that I wanted to get to real quick before we continue on and keep going here. We about a good hour in almost. I appreciate all of y'all pulling up, rocking with us. We got about 100 in the building already. Let me scroll back because I know I saw another one there. I definitely want to bring that. Oh, yeah, with Sebastian one time. Shout out to Sebastian, man. Sac passer, mon cher. He says, you think DJ gets packed up if they melt down? We'll talk about that. You know that's going to be one of the giant overreactions, Sebastian. I appreciate you, man, with the 199 super chat. I'm leaning towards the push. I'll give you a definitive answer when we get to the overreaction, because there is some that are in there that are talking about this. But right now I'm leaning towards the push. It all depends if you see your quarterback out there, man. If you see your quarterback on that, you know, and you got a shot to be able to go get him, you probably got to go get him. Does that mean that Daniel Jones doesn't come back next year? I don't know. They're going to have to figure out something with the bridge. We saw a little bit of Tyrod Taylor in this game in the fourth quarter. It don't look that much different from what Daniel Jones does. It does look like Tyrod Taylor takes more shots down the field, but also it seems like the inexperience of being able to play with the first-string team and also like not being on the field, his awareness of when the pocket breaks down is a bit of a liability, because we've seen this guy come in the game now twice in relief, and he's fumbled twice, had an interception as well. So you're looking at three turnovers there. And the guy has barely played 20 snaps. That's not a good average per snap. But we'll see, man. Definitely appreciate you, Sebastian, rocking with us. And I appreciate that super chat, man. You've been rocking with us for a long time. You've been a day one over here. Definitely supporting this channel, man. Thank you. Definitely appreciate that. And shout out to NY Life one time, NY for Life in the building one time. How healthy are we going to be next week? It's no telling. Saquon Barkley, you saw him kind of doing this, in the game. Shoulder kind of hurting him. We don't know what's going on with Leonard Williams with the neck injury. It wouldn't surprise me if Xavier McKinney doesn't play for the rest of the season. Tim from Online Big Blue was at the game last week, took a picture of him. He was right next to him, took a picture of his hand, and it looked awful. It looks awful. Adoree Jackson's probably the guy who we probably get back before we get back any of these other guys. We'll see, man. We'll see. There's a lot of people out here on this injury report. It's been tough. We need to get healthy. It's super important. It's super important. We're looking at the Washington Commanders game here, man. They've been on a week's rest. Giants got to get out here and get to business. Commanders are going to be well prepared for that vanilla offensive game plan that we've been using throughout the season. They will need to trick up his sleeve for this game for sure. Let me see. Oh, Bubs is in the building. Shout out to Bubs one time. I think we got a shot at Anthony Richardson. Yeah, I do, man. You can always trade up. We have a lot of picks this year. I think we got 11 draft picks already, so there's always a chance at going to get the quarterback that you want. That's for damn sure. But let's get back to some of these key factors in this game, and then we'll get off into some of these giant overreactions, man. Definitely appreciate everybody coming in with the super chats, man, coming in with y'all thoughts. Some great stuff being said in that chat, man. Salute to the family, man, one time. Y'all know what it is, man. We right here in this therapy session, week 14 edition of the giant overreaction. So let's talk about a couple other things, a couple other bad things in this game. I talked about, as a team, the Eagles average 8.2 yards per carry. You're not going to win games like that if your defense is allowing 8.2 yards per carry. They doubled the Giants in rushing first downs, 15-7. The Giants had 7 rushing first downs, and the Philadelphia Eagles had 15. You're not going to win games like that. The Giants punted the ball 5 times in the first half. The Eagles punted the ball 2 times in the entire game. That goes to show you can't sustain drives. It's going to be very difficult to beat a team like the Philadelphia Eagles with the kind of power they have on that offense. Now, the good in this game, there wasn't much good. We did get a sighting from Ellerson Smith, who blocked a punt. I thought that was amazing to see a guy, drafted a couple years back. Really haven't heard his name, has been dealing with injuries throughout his whole entire tenure with the New York Giants. To see him block a punt, but the punter scooped it up and damn near got a first down on it. Very heads-up play. He ended up getting hurt on that play. Gave a middle finger to some of the Giants fans that were kind of clowning him as he was being carted off the field. I thought that was just very disrespectful from the fan base, but it is what it is. People drinking alcohol at these games. You know what it is. You know how that goes. Another good thing was Azeez Ojulari in this game. He had 2 quarterback sacks. I thought Kayvon Thibodeau had a good day. I think he had 1 sack on the day. Let me double check that so I can get those numbers proper for y'all. Let me see. Kayvon. I know he's getting pressure on the quarterback. Looks like he didn't have a sack in this game. He's getting some pressure on the quarterback. Didn't really do much in the box score here. But Kayvon was a decent sighting in this game. Both teams were 3 for 4 in the red zone. So we got down there, we scored, but the Philadelphia Eagles were scoring touchdowns outside the red zone. On Thursday, during the preview, I talked about this, man. The foundation to the keys of my victory was needed a big game from Daniel Jones and Saquon, and you really didn't see that. Talked about Saquon, the 9 carries for like 20-something yards. What was that? 9 carries for 28 yards. That's not going to get it done. No touchdowns. His longest run on the day was 9 yards. I mean, come on. That's just not typical Saquon Barkley. And then I also talked about we had to score early and we had to control the clock. Eagles won a time of possession in this game. 32 minutes, 30 seconds to 27 minutes and 30 seconds. And I knew it right off the bat. Like, I spoke about this all week, right? Like how I just wasn't confident in the New York Giants. I was like, we're going to get dog walked. I almost want to play y'all the preview from the parlay on Sunday where I can reiterate most of it. I was just like, the Eagles got too much firepower. The Giants are going to get dog walked. Our best hope in this one is heavy rain. This is going to be an ugly game for the Giants. And, you always go into a game with a little bit of hope and you look for early signs, right? You look for like, oh, maybe the first drive, Giants come out. We got the ball first in this game. If you could go down the field and score a touchdown, get 7 on them, man, that's a good start. The Giants ended up 5 plays and out on the first drive. And Daniel Jones was sacked twice. Right there, I just crossed my legs, sat down. I was just like, I'm getting ready to see the horror movie now. At that point, I knew we weren't going to win the game. And then the Philadelphia Eagles get the ball. They come down 14 plays for 84 yards. Jalen Hurts is 9 of 10 on that drive for 64 yards. It ends with a Miles Sanders touchdown. And this is the thing. They pretty much drained the whole entire first quarter with that first drive. It took 8 minutes, 5 seconds off the clock. It's the longest drive, or no, it's not, second 8-minute drive that the New York Giants have allowed this year. You're not going to win games like that. Daniel Jones, 18 of 27 for 169 yards on the day, 6.3 yards per attempt. This is a number you gotta focus in on. I was talking to Sal about this a little bit, and we wanted to dive into these numbers. Shout out to Sal, because Sal is like, when it comes to numbers on Giants Twitter, there's nobody better than Sal. He's a at Queens guy on Twitter, and he just breaks down the numbers in a great way. I mean, he just has a grip on analytics, man. So big shout out to Sal. But he was talking about, even if you have like 30 yards rushing, right? Let's say you like start at your own 20-yard line and you have like 30 yards rushing on a drive. Let's say you could average 30 yards rushing per drive. When you're throwing the ball at 6.3 yards per attempt, and let's say you got to get that other 50 yards to get into the end zone, just add it up. Your quarterback is going to have to complete like 6 to 9 throws on every drive. This is why these numbers start to look a little bit misleading when you talk about Daniel Jones. Now, let me pull up this passing chart here for y'all real quick. Check this out. Like, just look at these throws, man. Everything is short. Last week we talked about it. You only had 4 throws that breached 10 yards last week. This week you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 throws that breached 10 yards. I'm not saying you can't win like this, but you can't win like this. This is not going to win you games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 throws behind the line of scrimmage, which is better than last week. We doubled that last week. We had 13 throws behind the line of scrimmage. But look at all these throws that are at the line of scrimmage. You know, you can add up another 5 of them that are right there within 5 yards. This knick-knack kind of style of offense is not doing anything for the Giants. Now, will I say I'm surprised that Brian Dable and them went out and they came out with this same conservative game plan? No, they're strapped for talent. This offensive line is not holding up. This quarterback is not looking down the field when you get the opportunities. And I'm not going to sit up here and say anything about the wide receivers. Not today. I'm not going to say nothing about the wide receivers. I saw wide receivers getting chances out there, getting one-on-one opportunities, getting open. I don't know why Daniel Jones won't pull the trigger, man. You can go out there and throw an interception, bro. This stat line that you have this year is not going to do anything as far as you signing somewhere else. Teams are not going to look at this and go, oh, man, this is fantastic that this kid's not turning the ball over. He's 14th in QBR right now. He's second as far as interceptions go, which we know. Bobby was talking about this last week. It's like the Giants and Daniel Jones don't want to throw the big, bad interception. 4 interceptions, but his 12 touchdowns are 23rd in the NFL right now. His yards are 17th in the NFL, and I know his attempts are definitely in the bottom third. They're not throwing the ball. And if you talk about shots 20 yards or more, 10 yards or more, I'm sure he's at the bottom of the league. For me, you have to find a way to be conservative, but also when the window and the opportunities present themselves, take them. Throw the ball down the field when you get a couple of chances here. The only shot that I saw, when you look at that chart, the one that's deep down the field was to Hodgins. It was early on in the game. And the ball came up short. I don't know why it is that this I can't even blame it on the coaches, that this quarterback is so frightened to throw the ball down the field. I'm going to just say what it is. I don't know why. When you get these one-on-one matchups, you got to take them. You saw it with Jalen Hurts, man. Anytime it's one-on-one, he's taking the shot. He has one-on-one with his running back, wheeling out of the backfield. He takes a shot. I mean, running back drops it, but it is what it is. A.J. Brown gets one-on-one opportunities. The ball's going to him. And you also saw precision in the passing game from the Philadelphia Eagles in this game. Jalen Hurts is making all the throws. I don't know what people are seeing when they're saying this kid can't throw the ball. I don't know what they're seeing. But from what I'm seeing, this kid, he missed like 1 or 2 throws. The one that was short to A.J. Brown, it was like a short hopper. He was rolling to his left. It reminds me of a throw we were talking about on Twitter a lot where somebody was telling me Daniel Jones can't roll to his right and throw a 10-yard pass, flip his hips and throw the ball. And on this throw, Jalen Hurts, he tried to like turn his torso a little bit in the upper body and lean and make the throw. Came up a little bit short. It's the kind of throw where you probably do want to flip your hips so you can get all leverage from your legs and be able to make the right throw. But I know Daniel Jones can make these throws. It's just a matter of not attempting them and not making the throws. But the QBR in a day looks pretty decent, 78.3. He had 4 rushes for 26 yards. He had 1 touchdown on the ground, 1 touchdown through the air. Can't forget I know at least one of those came on a short field when we had the block punt. That was the passing touchdown that came on a short field. For me, I think you need a quarterback that's going to be able to buy you more time, especially with this kind of offensive line. And again, I'm not blaming this all on Daniel Jones, but we're going to get off into this. Everybody deserves blame on this team. Nobody played well for real. When I talk about the good, there's like 3 good things we could talk about. We could talk about Azeez, and that's about it. And Ellerson Smith maybe getting a block punt, and that's about it. Now, according to PFF, the Eagles had 33 pressures against the New York Giants. Hassan Reddick had 9 pressures himself. You saw him. He was beating Andrew Thomas. He was beating this offensive line up all day. He had 2 sacks on the day. And they talked about Hassan Reddick and how he likes to terrorize the New York Giants as well. Shout out to Nick Folletto. He's the one who put up those PFF numbers for me. Big shout out to him. He breaks down tape in a major way, one of the best. And Tyrod Taylor comes in relief. And Tyrod Taylor was 5 of 5 for 47 yards. 9.4 yards per attempt. I know it's garbage time, but 9.4 yards per attempt in comparison to the 6.3 from Daniel Jones. And he had the 2 rushes for 40 yards. He was the leading rusher. He had the 1 fumble, 1 touchdown to Richie James, and 0 interceptions. Saquon Barkley, we talked about his stats. Not good. Richie James was the leading wide receiver with 7 receptions for 61 yards. On 9 targets, 1 touchdown. I talked about Richie James, man. Beginning of the year when Wan'Dale Robinson was hurt, Richie James stepped up in a major way. I talked about this on my Twitter, too. I was like, man, we got to give a big shout-out to these guys that are depth pieces that are not really known to be stepping up in these big, bright spots and making some plays. Guys like Richie James, guys like Darius Slayton, guys like Isaiah Hodgins. They didn't ask for these other wide receivers to get hurt, but I'm sure that they're looking at this as an opportunity, and they're stepping up. Darius Slayton in this game only had 3 targets. He did have the big long play for 37 yards, only 2 receptions for 42 yards on the day. Jalen Hurts, 21 of 31 for 217 yards, 7 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 85.4 QBR, 7 rushes for 77 yards. It's a complete game from the quarterback position. And he had some issues with some pressure getting to him, but he was finding ways to get out of it. Like I said, he was sacked 4 times. Miles Sanders was the killer with the 144 yards, averaging 8.4 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns, had the long run of 40 yards. We couldn't stop the run for nothing. That's just what it is. And Devonta Smith led the Philadelphia Eagles in receiving, 5 receptions for 64 yards on 8 targets, and he had the 1 touchdown. All right. They blew us out, man. This game wasn't even close. It's one that I can't wait to bury and just put it in the past, to be honest. I'm looking forward to getting to Thursday and doing the preview here at 7 p.m., talking with the homie Beard. This is going to be a good week for us, man, going up against the Commanders. Y'all know we both childhood homies. He's a Commanders fan. I'm a Giants fan. it should be a very interesting week. But I'm really not looking forward to doing the NFC East recap tomorrow. I got to keep it real with you because I'm going to have to talk about this lackluster performance from the New York Giants again. So let's get off into some of these overreactions. And in between, we'll go over some questions. If y'all got some questions y'all want to present to the chat so that everybody can chop it up and talk about, some key factors about this game or about this season even, let's definitely go ahead and do that. But let's go ahead and get off into this first Giant overreaction one time. All right, let's start with Saquon Barkley. I feel like we talked about Daniel Jones enough, during that opener. I brought up some key points about what I think about Daniel Jones. But what do y'all think about this one right here? With the way Saquon Barkley has played as of late, I do not see a long-term contract in the making. Chat, what y'all think? If y'all think this is facts right here up on the screen, let me see a U in the chat that represents the under. If you think that this is indeed a giant overreaction, let me see some O's in the chat. And if you want to see how things play out for Saquon Barkley for these remaining, 4 games, then let me see a P in the chat that represents you taking the push today. I give y'all a little bit of time to populate your answers. I'm going to keep my eye on the chat. Y'all let me know what y'all thinking one time. All right, right off the bat, we got Steven, Arse, Tom's World, Kansan, Roman, Bubs, Gregory, my man the Beard, Todd Taylor, all coming in saying this is an overreaction. Lesnar taking the push, says he need a little bit of more time on that. Kevin the PRF agrees with the statement on the screen. Mac the Giants fan says it's a big overreaction. Shout out to OG Knockout one time in the building. What's going on, fam? He's taking a push on this one, along with Isaiah Wyatt and Big Dash Nose. Jeff is taking the under. Isaiah representing that push a couple of times for us. Appreciate that. Steven R said, get this off my screen. Okay. Mr. Mini Guy's taking the push one time. Let me see. Lesnar taking the push one time. Lou Mateo says, isn't this Saquon's first full season since his rookie season? That's a good question. I think last year, last year he missed with an ankle. Yep, so let's pump the brakes. It ain't a full season yet. But so far, so good. But that's a good point you bring up, Lou. Chris P says it's an overreaction. The money and length may look different, though. That's true. Dallas Mustang says it's an overreaction. Don't think it will be high dollar, but dude is a team leader and solid contributor when healthy. That's a good point right there. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets says he's taking under. I just don't see him being the long-term solution at running back. Okay, respect to that. Host of Horror is taking the under on this one as well. James Earl Moan's taking the overreaction. Shane knows a young QB's best friend is good running back. Young QB. I like that. Good point right there. Sebastian says it's an overreaction. Denzio taking the under. Dave taking the under. The Moore family in the building. Shout out to the Moore family one time. Salute to you. Overreaction overall, but I don't know if signing him makes sense for this team future-wise. We don't get the luxury of him for real without a better O-line. Oh, that's big facts right there. John B taking the push. Sean G says it's an overreaction, although he has struggled. He will never play to his potential when they stack the box every play against him. That's facts. I got to go back and look at the tape here and see how much they stack the box, see those numbers one time, but that's facts. Let me see. Crypto Move says with the injuries, it's a nah from me, dog, unfortunately. Okay, respect. Elegante taking the push on this one. Bro, we still can't deny that one of the main reasons we are knocking on the playoffs door is Saquon Barkley. Can't deny that. That's facts right there. Respect to Elegante. Zeke is taking the under on this one. He agrees with the statement on the screen. Let me see. Big Dash says it depends on the money. I think whatever they offered him at the buy will be less now. That's a good point right there, too. I'm kind of leaning towards that as well. Like, you don't want to give this guy some crazy, outlandish contract. That's for damn sure. But I think more importantly, you got to pair him with another running back. Jeff says you don't pay a running back big money. I like that. Respect. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets says if Saquon Barkley needs perfect conditions, it's the same argument y'all make about Daniel Jones. Whew, that's a bar right there. Big shout out to no Mets, no Nets, no Jets. Let me see. John B said draft a running back with a wide receiver. Go with it. Start young equals nice and cheap. Yep, that's true. I have respect to that. Lack says it's an overreaction. We need to get some better offensive linemen and wide receivers to open things up for him. Respect. I like that. I like that. Let me see. Stephen R says, did we not see how deadly the offense was with a prime OBJ and Shepard and Saquon? This offense became one-dimensional when OBJ left. This is a good point you bring up. I wouldn't use the word deadly when we had OBJ, Shepard, and Saquon because y'all might have to correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I feel like the points per game wasn't that much back then, and I think we were struggling with a lot of the same similarities. A quarterback that's very, like, stuck in the pocket and offensive line problems as well. But we know, I mean, OBJ definitely made the offense click back then. 2018, the Giants were, what, 5-11, I think, something like that, and that was the only time we really got to see OBJ with Shepard and Saquon. So I don't know if it was deadly. I wouldn't go with deadly. Big Dash says Barkley relies on the O-line, and without being able to secure the O-line, it's a liability. Yeah, the O-line got to be decent. That's facts. I definitely agree with you on that. More family says that offense was bad. Yeah, that offense was bad. Okay, so for me, y'all, yeah, Bubs, let me see what this would be a good point here. He says it wasn't deadly, but we were moving the chains and not throwing behind the sticks. Yeah, we definitely could make big plays. That was another thing. We could definitely make big plays. A lot of checkdowns, though. You can't forget, man, Saquon Barkley had 91 receptions that year. So it was a bit of both. I'm going to do myself, some diligence and some research after I get off here and take a look at that because I want to see how that 2018 offense ranked up against the other teams and just check out, some of the statistics and just do a deep dive on it. So I'll definitely come back with some answers on that. I appreciate Bubs and who was that up there? Stephen Arch that was talking about that earlier. Big salute to y'all on that one. David G says a good quarterback would open up a running back. This is bars right here because look, the fact that the Giants can't throw the ball down the field, I think it was William Steele I heard saying this. I forget who it was I heard saying this, but they were talking about the safeties for the Dallas Cowboys when we played them. They were like 10 yards off the line because they got no respect for the deep passing game at all. A good quarterback and I'll add a good wide receiver core. Forget that. A good passing attack would definitely open up this running game. But right now, teams know it. You can key in on the run. You can take risks, and the reward is definitely high for that. So I agree with what David G is saying here for sure. Let me see. John says, with the amount of talent in the free agent market for running backs, I wouldn't be shocked if Shane doesn't bring Barkley back if he wants to get paid. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me either. You can't forget Joe Shane let Shady McCoy walk. You remember that? And he was a really good running back. I know he was aging at the time, but he definitely let him walk after having a pretty decent year. So it wouldn't surprise me either. It definitely. Bub said, that's facts. The swing passes to Barkley. I do remember that. Yeah, definitely. That was a big thing. Chaz G says, I'm not as upset at Tyrod's fumble. The situation wasn't the best either. D-line was in kill mode, and our O-line was already beaten. Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I was thinking about bringing up some of that stuff as far as the overreactions, but I was just like, I think everybody kind of knows that would be an overreaction. Tyrod comes in, right? Left tackle gets beat. I don't even think that was Andrew Thomas in the game, too. I think that was Matt Pert, actually, that was in the game at that time. And, he gets a blindside hit on the quarterback, and he fumbles the ball. It's unfortunate. I think Tyrod's going to pay attention to that a lot more now, though, knowing that the quarterback position is kind of like in loom now a little bit. Daniel Jones is not playing that great. It would surprise me if they moved to Tyrod Taylor, at this point in the season. Obviously, I am expecting Daniel Jones to be the starter, obviously, going into Washington. But I think Tyrod Taylor is seeing an opening here, and you got to capitalize when you get your chances. Shout out to Lax 044 one time, man. Day one in the building for the $4.99 Super Chat. He says, before all of the wide receivers started to get hurt, Saquon was running crazy. Now that we are playing practice squad guys, he is struggling because there are no other guys. I think that's a part of it, Lax. But I also think, the interior offensive line and not having Evan Neal. You can't forget this was Evan Neal's first game back. So there's been some injuries on the interior line and at right tackle to go along with the wide receiver problems. And then Saquon Barkley now with the shoulder injury, it's all just piling up, and it's just been a little bit too much. So I would point to this as well. But I'm not putting a lot of blame on the wide receivers for the past 2 weeks. I'm just not. Richie James is a serviceable slot guy, and we're starting to see Isaiah Hodgins as a pretty decent threat here, wide receiver, and we know Darius Slayton, he can stretch the field. Darius Slayton coming into this game, out of his 4 games, three out of his last 4 games had over 85 yards. So he's been our threat down the field. Isaiah Hodgins has touchdowns in back-to-back games. Richie James, he's been the king of garbage time touchdowns this year. I think he's got 3 on the year. I'd argue that this wide receiver core is better than what we started the year with. And that I'd have to look into it. But to me, when you had Kadarius Toney out there, Kenny Galladay out there, those guys weren't doing jack. Maybe Kenny Galladay's a better blocker. That could be a case there that helps out the running game. But we weren't stretching the field, and we're still not stretching the field. And I think it's more of the injuries on the offensive line, what's happening up front, and teams getting tape on Saquon Barkley and the New York Giants. They know how to beat us now. It's really easy. I talked about that week 1 against the Tennessee Titans. I was like, the Giants know the task at hand. Stop Derrick Henry. Everything else will fall into place. You can allow Ryan Tannehill to get a couple of completions here and there. You can go man-to-man, and you can just work on stopping Derrick Henry. You're going to have a shot to win that game. That's the approach that teams are looking at against the New York Giants. If you stop the running game, it's barely no chance that the Giants are going to win the game. But shout out to Lax044. Been rocking with us for a long time, man. I definitely appreciate that. Big Dash said the king of garbage time touchdowns is crazy. It's facts, man. He's getting garbage time touchdowns every game. Got one in this game, got one against Dallas. I forget when the other one came, but he's been getting them. So for me to answer this one here with the way Saquon Barkley has played as of late, I do not see a long-term contract. I'm going to take the push, to keep it real with you. I think Saquon Barkley, a lot of people said this earlier, he's the reason why the New York Giants are in position right now with 7 wins anyway to try to make a playoff run. Saquon and his defense. I've said that on previous podcasts, and I'm going to stick to that. His passing game has been pathetic. And it's looking like the offense I used to run, in 9th, 10th grade on JV. It's bad. A lot of bootlegs. And, when you start to put that stuff on tape, man, NFL coaches are smart enough to go, man, here it comes. It's why Daniel Bellinger is not effective. And Daniel Jones definitely threw a hospital ball to Daniel Bellinger in this game, and it got him hurt. We might not have Daniel Bellinger going into next week. We'll see. And I'm not necessarily just blaming the quarterback on that, but in a situation where, man, you got a pass that's well short of the sticks and you setting up your tight end like that, it's not a good look. It's definitely not a good look. So for this one, I'm going to have to take the push on this one, and we'll see how Saquon Barkley finishes the year, because if injuries is going to be an issue of why he can't sustain, high-level play down the stretch, we got to take that into consideration. I think Saquon Barkley's the number 1 playmaker on this team, but my number 1 goal would be to pair him with another running back. If he could come back on a team-friendly deal, a long-term contract, also that depends on what you think is a long-term contract. 3 years maybe, if you could give Saquon a 3-year contract with a couple of outs maybe in the last year or the last 2 years, pair him with somebody that's a bruiser-style running back or another running back that can make plays, kind of like what the Dallas Cowboys have done here with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. I think that's the way to do it. I've been saying that since we started this podcast. You got to use Saquon Barkley like Alvin Kamara. And another name I'll start to add to that is you got to start using them how the Philadelphia Eagles use Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders just got his first 1,000-yard season just now. And Miles Sanders, when healthy, is one of the better running backs in the league. Definitely one of the better hybrid running backs in the league. And Alvin Kamara has yet to have a 1,000-yard season. I don't need these inflated numbers, that make my running back look like something he really isn't. Saquon Barkley is a great playmaker. This offense is not using him like the great playmaker that he is, and that's unfortunate. But the yards look great this year. He breached 1,000 yards. Big salute to Saquon Barkley for hitting that milestone, but it would be real nice if we could spread this around a little bit more as far as the running game goes. But let's get into this second overreaction here one time. I got 3 on the day. We'll get to those, and then we'll wrap this up with a couple of questions. Now, I love this one right here. And I know this one's going to have people losing their mind in the chat. Saw this one on Twitter actually before the game. That's why it says 11-1. This one says, let Daniel Jones and Jalen Hurts swap O-line and skill guys and see what happens. The Giants would be 11-1. I'm going to give y'all a little time, get your answers right, get your mind right. Y'all tell me if y'all think this is an overreaction or if you're going to be taking the under, represent that with the U. If you're taking the overreaction, represent that with an O. And if you need, take the push on this one, maybe you see what happens the rest of the season. I doubt you'll need that. But put the P in the chat for the push one time. Host of Horror came in and said Jones is definitely worth more than Barkley. That could have been an overreaction right there. That would have been a great one to put up. I would love to see how the chat would think about that. But it's a good point you bring up. I mean, Barkley, when he's not healthy and looking the way he's looking these past couple of weeks, there's definitely an argument to be made there for sure. Shout out to Mobster Music. He's coming in with the under one time. He does agree with the statement on the screen. Tom's World is coming in with the under as well. So is Roman. Kevin the PRF says over with 100 O's and a laughing emoji. Sebastian says massive overreaction. Zeke says massive overreaction as well. James Earl Mones just said nah. Ryan Mart, shout out to Ryan Mart one time in the building, man. Appreciate you pulling up one time. Ryan Mart says Barkley looks tired and beat up. Let me see. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets says not really a fan of hypotheticals. Neither am I. I feel you on that. And this one kind of made me go, eh. John says he agrees with the statement on the screen. He's taking the under. Let me see. Mac, the Giants fan, says that Jones still don't have Hurts' instincts or skill set. Respect. That's a good point right there. Sean G says, oh, with 100 O's here. Jalen Hurts is a straight baller, man. DJ doesn't have the MVP potential with any team. Whew. My man is talking that talk right now. Sean G. Y'all see this right here? Jalen Hurts is a straight baller. DJ doesn't have MVP potential with any team. And right now, as far as the odds go, Jalen Hurts is number one as far as the MVP race goes right now, as far as the odds go. That's a good point you bring up, Sean G. Big shout out to you, brother. Kareem E says it's an overreaction. Jalen makes better decisions in and out the pocket. It's a good point. Dealing with a better offensive line, we know that. Shout out to Adam Costas. Adam, I shouted you out earlier, man. I don't know if you was tuned in earlier, bro. The rant that you pulled up on the panel with Mac the Giants fan, bro, I feel your sentiment on everything that you said, bro. I recorded that. Like, I wanted to keep that in my vault for Giants content forever, because everything you said is facts. People are babying this football team. That's what it is. We're like, oh, next week's game is the real game. And, oh, this quarterback doesn't have this, that, and the third. Oh, Saquon Barkley's shoulder is hurt. Oh, this defense is strapped for talent. We shouldn't even be in this position here. We've overexceeded. We should be thankful for 7 wins. One day I'm going to play that rant on this channel. I might play that rant on this channel on Tuesday because, dog, for one, your energy and your emotion was spot on, bro. So I appreciate you pulling up, man. Big shout out to Adam Costas. Make sure y'all go subscribe to his channel. This dude's been putting his foot in Giants content for I want to say 8 years at least, yo. I looked at some of his content that dated back to 2015, I want to say it was, and he still had the same vibes. This is a smart Giants content creator right here. Him and Mac the Giants fan are both great at what they do. Make sure y'all go subscribe to both of them. It's raw, uncut type of content coming from a fan perspective. I love what Adam is doing, man. Big salute to you, brother. Mr. Mini Guy has the overreaction as well. Chris P says kind of a push, kind of an overreaction, maybe 9 wins. Okay. Stephen R says this is an overreaction, but I think you just switched DJ and Hurts. The record is the same. Hurts would look bad on the Giants. Well, that's kind of what he's saying there. So I think you're kind of agreeing. You might want to take the under on this one, because he's saying if you swap O-line and skill guys, see what happens. The Giants would be 11-1. I guess you're saying that. If you swapped O-line and skill guys, it's pretty much taking the Philadelphia Eagles team. So I think you're kind of leaning more towards the under. Let me see. Big Dash says if it's a straight quarterback swap, I think both teams are in similar positions. Not me. I'm going to disagree with y'all on that. Not me. Definitely not. Jalen Hurts extends plays, and that's why you get those big plays down the field. Denzio is taking the under on this one, agreeing with the statement on the screen. Gregory taking the over. Gregory's a unbiased Cowboys fan in the building one time. Shout out to Gregory. I'm catching up. Let me see. The Moore family said we need to swap defenses too. He's taking this as an overreaction. Let me see who else we got in the building. Bub says it's an overreaction. Let me see. Okay, Big Dash says you put Hurts on this squad. I think we are still about the same. Maybe Hurts gets you 2 more games, but we lack talent big time. Yeah, we do. We definitely do lack talent. Let me see. What's wild is this year's team kind of looks a lot like the 2021 Eagles team outside of the offensive line. It's very similar, lacking the skill position, weapons, you know what I'm saying? Lacking talent on the back end of the defense a little bit. I'd say the Eagles kind of got the edge. But most Giants content creators and Giants fans thought that the Eagles of 2021 were going to be straight up garbage, and they ended up winning 9 games and going to the playoffs. So I don't know. That's tough, and I'm kind of with no Mets, no Nets, no Jets on all the hypotheticals. I will say I'm kind of leaning more towards that. Let me see what else we got. The Moore family says it's an overreaction. I'm catching up with y'all. The beard just wants to reiterate. Jalen Hurts is the league MVP right now. Arvin Palmer says Hurts over Jones showed vast improvement. And Big Dash Nose says agreed to Beard. Yeah, so with this right here, let Daniel Jones and Jalen Hurts swap O-line and skill guys and see what happens. The Giants will be 11-1. I'm going to absolutely disagree with this and say that this is an overreaction. This is an inflated overreaction right here. Because, one, you got to think about this. The Eagles aren't just 11-1 because of the O-line and the skill guys. And what this statement is saying here is that the quarterback doesn't matter in a way. That you could swap Daniel Jones for Jalen Hurts. Daniel Jones, who has 12 touchdowns on the season and 4 interceptions. And when we're talking about a guy in Jalen Hurts right now, who is the front runner for the MVP, Jalen Hurts is sitting on 22 passing touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He also has, I believe, he's got 9 rushing touchdowns, I believe. So add that up, man. You're talking 31 total touchdowns at least and just 3 interceptions. He's only lost 2 fumbles on the season. He's got a QBR right now in the year of 70.4. That's 4th in the NFL. And Daniel Jones is sitting on a QBR of 56, which is 14th in the NFL right now. And we're doing a lot of game managing over here in New York. I don't know about this. To me, this is an egregious overreaction. So I'm agree with most of y'all in the chat. I don't think this is the case. The Giants would not be 11-1. We are fortunate to have 7 wins already, man. The way we escaped some of these games. I mean, the way that the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson collapsed, the way that the Jacksonville Jaguars collapsed at the end of that game, the Packers, who had, I believe, a 14, maybe a 17-point lead on the New York Giants, and the Giants end up coming back in that game. Let's bring up this super chat one time from John. Shout out to John one time, man, with the $10 super chat in the building. He says, I honestly don't understand the DJ hate. Look at Herbert. He has a stacked team, and he has a losing record overall in his career, and people say Herbert is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. People say that Herbert is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones because Herbert is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones, brother. Just use your eyes on this one, man. Look at some of the plays that Herbert makes. You could look at the one throw against the New York Giants last year to end the half that Herbert made. He did the exact same throw in this game. Look at the accuracy. Look at the way that he extends plays. I mean, there's so much in this statement I disagree with. Like, and you know I get down with you, John, but there's just so much. Okay, stacked team. Look at how he's been performing this year with Mike Williams and with Keenan Allen out of the lineup for most of the year. Austin Eckler, the Beard will vouch for this. I always talk about it on the parlay when we're talking about fantasy. Austin Eckler is just a glorified wide receiver playing the running back position at this point, especially in the scheme that, Brandon Staley is running over there. They're not one of the teams that are way up at the top of the league and rushing the ball. I don't look at Austin Eckler as a weapon like I do with Saquon Barkley when it comes to the running game, okay? Now, when it comes to the pass attack, obviously, yeah, Austin Eckler's a guy. But to say that people say Herbert is a better QB than DJ, that you don't really understand that, he's better. Weapons or not, he's a better quarter. You might be one of the only people that I know that would say that Daniel Jones is a better quarterback than Justin Herbert. And I know a lot of people are trying to hang their hats on that Justin Herbert record. I'm looking it up right now. I know that it's not like it's egregious losing. He's 22-23, man. By the time this season ends, it's very likely that Justin Herbert is going to have a winning record. So we can't hang our hats on that right there. We just can't. To say that he has a losing record, you want me to go look up Daniel Jones' record? It's not close to that. It's not close to that. I promise you that. And let me take this text real quick. This is a business text. Give me about 2 seconds here. Okay. All right. So just to respond to this, just when you watch the games with Justin Herbert, you can see a better quarterback, bro. There's a reason why they're not running all this read option and all that stuff over there. One, they do got the wide receivers, but 2, they can really sling the rock, John. Come on. And I think we got to stop calling it DJ hate. It's not hate, bro. It's just assessing somebody as a player and coming to a conclusion on what you think it is. That's it. I don't think it's hate. I think it's just fair evaluation. And Adam put up the numbers there right there, 19-30-1 in his career. You're talking about Justin Herbert in the losing record. He's 22-23. I just don't get it. And let me reread this just so I can really get it right. He has a stacked team, and he has a losing record overall in his career, and people say Herbert is a better quarterback than DJ. Maybe that's my assumption, but yeah, Herbert is a better quarterback than DJ. Of everything I've seen from Justin Herbert, dude is on his way to being a unicorn. To me, you got Patrick Mahomes in one tier by himself. You got Josh Allen knocking on that tier 1, but he's in tier 2 to me. Tier 3, I think Josh Allen is in tier 2 almost by himself, but I will put Lamar Jackson in tier 2 with him. And tier 3 right now is Joe Burrow is knocking on that tier 2, kind of knocking on that tier 1. And guys like Justin Herbert, they're all in that tier 3. These are quarterbacks that you can look at them and say they are franchise quarterbacks without a doubt. No doubt about it. Guys like Daniel Jones, you got to put them in tier 5, tier 6. Jalen Hurts is in that category right now with Justin Herbert. They knocking on their way to being in that tier 2, man. Daniel Jones is not in that. Just look at as much tape as you can possibly find. You can find a lot of 22-man tape on Twitter of plays that people are breaking down left and right, man. Go look at the Quarterback Schools channel, which is JT O'Sullivan. He's got breakdowns on Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert. He breaks down all these quarterbacks. And just look at the plays these guys make. And I see you dropped another one here, man. I definitely appreciate that. He says, nah, bro. Appreciate that $10 super chat, though. John says, nah, bro, I'm not saying DJ is a better quarterback than Herbert, but the fact that people are saying DJ isn't a game changer with what he has compared to what Herbert has doesn't make any sense. It does, though. It really does. Daniel Jones is not a game breaker. He's not a game changer. He gets down in the red zone, freezes up. That's what it is. We've seen that a quarterback for 3 straight seasons is treading water around that 12 touchdown mark lets you know everything you got to know right now. People were saying Jared Goff is straight garbage just a year ago. Look how Jared Goff is playing over there right now with some scraps from the New York Giants, because Khalif Raymond was an ex-New York Giant, and he's over there doing damage with them. Yeah, they got Amon-Ra St. Brown. I know that. He's doing damage as well over there. A lot of that got to do with what Jared Goff does from the quarterback position, though. DJ Chark, a guy who's relatively a number 2 or number 3, you could compare him to a Darius Slayton or something like that. He's going off now. It's because they have a good quarterback over there, and I'm not sitting here saying Jared Goff is great, but Jared Goff is pretty damn good. He does a good job of getting rid of that ball, reading the field fast, getting to his checkdowns when he has to, scanning the field and progressing through his reads, which is what Daniel Jones lacks. There was a time yesterday during that game with the Chargers where the announcers talked about how Justin Herbert scanned the field from right to center to left. You ain't never going to see Daniel Jones do that. And there are nuances, man, that are very hard to read for even me. Very hard to read. Very hard to read. But I try to just fill my mind with as much information as I can on these quarterbacks and come to the best possible conclusion. Daniel Jones is not in the same class as a Justin Herbert. I'm sorry. He's just not. Yeah, we got all the nuances of the roster with Daniel Jones. And we know Justin Herbert has great weapons over there, especially when they're healthy. Mike Williams is a beast deep down the field threat, and we know what Keenan Allen can do. But yesterday I saw Keenan Allen make a catch on the sideline, and I tweeted it out, the picture of it. He went like this. Like, you the guy, Herbert. The window that Justin Herbert fit that football in, not many quarterbacks going to be able to do that. And I'm starting to think that Justin Herbert, there are assets of his game that are much better than what what Daniel Jones has. And a Josh Allen. I'm going to say a Josh Allen. That's really what I meant to say there. When you look at the just pinpoint accuracy throwing the football, to me, it's just Patrick Mahomes that I'm putting over Justin Herbert. Josh Allen can make the throws, big arm, has gotten a lot more accurate in his career. But Herbert is fitting that ball into some windows that you do not see from a lot of quarterbacks. That's for damn sure. But shout out to you, John. You already know your opinion is always welcome over here. It's always welcome over here. But for me, I'm looking at this like, man, you got to just assess the position with your eyes. And I know for a lot of people, it's hard for them. They keep saying it, too, that they still can't evaluate Daniel Jones. I'm able to evaluate him, at least on my opinion. And I'm not saying he can't go somewhere and have success in the NFL. But for me, he's looking like an average quarterback. And that's what I've been saying for 2 years now. If you date back to some of these streams from last year, especially after about week 10, I was being critical and possibly being damn near harsh about how Daniel Jones was playing, but he wasn't playing good. And I know what it is. I don't need more snaps. We're talking about a guy who's played in 50 games pretty much. I don't need to see it too much more, to be honest, to be able to assess it. Shout out to LeCap James one time in the building, new face. Appreciate you pulling up, fam. He says, Pat's not even tier 1. He's in his own stratosphere. Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm saying. Like, Patrick Mahomes is in his own class. There's no other quarterbacks that are – did you see the touchdown pass that he made just on Sunday where he's spinning around doing all kind of crazy stuff, kind of like what I brought up to y'all attention on the overreaction last week. Some of those plays I was highlighting. And then he dumps it off when they think he's going to run the ball. Patrick Mahomes' awareness is on 3,000. He's like checking over his shoulder while he's running. He's like, these guys are not going to hit me. And even if they do hit me, I'm still going to make a good throw. So 100% agree with you on that. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets says, my apologies to Cookie Monster. I accidentally timed him or her out. My apologies. Appreciate you, sending the $4.99 super chat to say that, man. That goes to let you know, Cookie Monsters, all respect over here from no Mets, no Nets, no Jets. Big salute to y'all, man, for hashing that out. You know what it is. All right, let's get to this next overreaction because I got about a good 10 more minutes before I got to get to this session. And who knows, if I'm feeling some kind of way, maybe we do a late night giant overreaction with a little Q&A possible vibes. We'll see, man, because I do think that there's a lot more that needs to be said about this game. But shout out to all of y'all, man, for showing up, showing out on this Monday afternoon, man. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. And Dustin wants to know my opinion on Anthony Richardson. Yeah, I gave this one earlier in the stream. Anthony Richardson, man, ceiling is extremely high. Big body kid, strong kid, can make all the throws. Great runner, has the instincts and the it factor, if you ask me. You know, when the games are on the line, this kid is putting everything on the line. I'd love to have Anthony Richardson on this team. I'm going to keep it real with you. Whether you keep Daniel Jones or not, Anthony Richardson looks like he's going to be a guy. I was pretty high on Malik Willis coming out in the draft last year. I was like, I think Malik could be a guy. You know, it was hard to gauge him because of the talent he was going up against. It was difficult to gauge him, but I thought Malik Willis had a lot of good skill sets, and I think Anthony Richardson has a higher skill set, to be honest. So big shout out to Dustin, man. Definitely appreciate that. $1.99 super chat one time, brother. And we're going to get to this last giant overreaction. And then I'm going to get y'all up out of here, man. Definitely appreciate all y'all rocking with us, man. I'm going to be taking this session here in about 10 minutes here, so we got to get this one wrapped up just a little bit. Big salute to y'all. Y'all know what it is, man. Big salute to the gang. Big salute to the fam. All right, y'all. I saw this one running around on the internet one time. And I tweeted out during the game. I said, if I hear Moose say Daniel Jones is doing a nice job one more time, I'm going to lose my damn mind, because this game was full of short passes and checkdowns again. And this whole asking him he's doing what he's been asked to do. You can't look at the NFL quarterback like that in my eyes. You can do what you want, obviously, but for me, you can't look at it like that. I'm not going to look at it like that. This one says, first words out of the announcer's mouth, which I believe was Moose: Daniel Jones is not the problem. Y'all listening? Do y'all think that this is an overreaction? Do you think Daniel Jones is the problem? If you think Daniel Jones is the problem, let me see some O's in the chat, or part of the problem. Let me see some O's in the chat for the overreaction. If you agree with this statement on the screen that, hey, you want to see Daniel Jones and you think he's probably a foundation to this team moving forward, let me see the U in the chat. And if you need a little bit more time, let me see you put the P in the chat like my man Lesnar just did one time, which represents you're taking the push. Give y'all a little bit of time to populate your answers, and we'll see how we looking here, y'all. All right, Tom's World is taking the under one time. Caden said, hell nah, taking the under one time. So he's saying that Daniel Jones is not the problem. Let me see. Adam Costa's taking the major O's on the overreaction. Jeff says it's an overreaction. Gareth says that Daniel doesn't make the players around him better. End of discussion. Respect to that. Stephen Arce taking the big under on this one. Kevin the PRF says that Richardson is Fields with a better arm. And he does look like that. And Fields is running all over the field, man. I mean, Fields is doing damage out here one time. Big shout out to Justin Fields, man. He's playing some pretty good football right now. I think he can work on the mechanics and get better at that. Dallas is taking the overreaction. He obviously part of the problem. To say otherwise, I think, isn't being realistic. Zeke says it's an overreaction. OG Knockout just said, thank you. That's facts right there. Crypto Moves is taking the under. Keep DJ, but start planning for life after DJ. One time in the building. Shout out to Crypto Moves. Adam Costa says he's not the solution either. I saw a lot of that going around on Twitter. Mac, the Giants fan, taking the push. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets, taking the under. Chris Peace taking the push. He's not the problem, but as it's been said by others in the chat, I don't think he's the solution. Facts on that. OG Knockout says overreaction. Let me see what else. Gregory says push. He is some of the problem, and depth is the biggest problem. John also says push on this one. Let me see. Bubs is also taking the push. Adam Costas says 3 different coaches, same results. Whew. Zeke says Jones inspires nobody. And Barry, shout out to Barry one time, he says, in my humble opinion, Jones is not the quarterback for the G-Men. I got to kind of agree with Barry here. You know, I've seen this for a good 3 now, going on 4 seasons and some change here, actually. And for me, I just think that, like, Daniel Jones, he's an average quarterback. That's it. He's average. It's not a lot you can do with average. It's going to be extremely tough to win games with a consistent model around average play around a quarterback. Now, I will say this. This is a big spot for him. And these last couple of games are very important. So I'm going to take the push on this one, and I'm going to wait out these last 4 games to just see how it goes. But right now, if I got to make an assessment right now, the Giants need to go out there and draft a quarterback. If you see that quarterback in the draft, if Anthony Richardson is there, go out there and get him. That's all I'm going to say on that. That is all I'm going to say on that. That's how I feel about it. And those are the 3 overreactions for today. Make sure y'all catch us tomorrow. We're going to be doing a whole recap of the NFC East one time with my brother, The Beard, strong side to my left side. And also on Thursday, we're going to be doing a preview of the Giants-Commanders game and the rest of the NFC East games. I hope y'all pull up for those, man. Big shout out to the gang in the building. I see Lax got one more super chat before we get up out of here. He says he's taking the push. I think this team had a ton of holes preseason, and Jones can play better if they surround him with talent. I think the hate comes from where he was drafted and who drafted him. Needs more help. Yeah, the quarterback definitely needs more help. I 1,000% agree with you on everything you said right there. This is a quarterback that, you know, you're going to have to put the pieces around him. And I'm not saying everything's going to have to be perfect, but things are going to have to be almost perfect. You're going to have good in every department if you want to see Daniel Jones consistently win games and throw the ball down the field. And, you know, for me, it's just, I think you're going to need a quarterback here that's going to be able to buy time, you know, and that'll buy the GM time. That'll buy the head coach time. And, you know, I'm just ready for a new pace here with the New York Giants, man. This style of offense has been here now for 4 seasons, and I'm getting tired of it. You know, outside of that rookie season, you're looking at a guy who's throwing for pretty much under 15 touchdowns in every one of the seasons. And I don't blame it all on him, but I'm not willing to build around a quarterback like this to ultimately find out that he's not even a Kirk Cousins or Ryan Tannehill. That's how I feel about it today. Who knows? If more facts are presented, maybe I feel about it, you know, a little different about it another day. But today, that's definitely how I'm feeling about it. Shout out to Lax, man. That's one of my day ones. I appreciate you pulling up and rocking out with us today, man, on this Giant overreaction, man. Definitely salute to all of y'all in the chat, man. Salute to the fam. John's got one more. He says, if Trenton Simpson is sitting there with AR-15, you taking AR-15 over Simpson? Appreciate the $5 super chat one time. I'm taking the push on that. To be honest, I haven't even thought about the draft, to be honest. I haven't even thought about the draft. So I'll take the push on that, man. I love what I'm seeing out of AR-15. I definitely think his skill set brings a lot to the New York Giants. I will say that. But we'll see. We'll see, man. We'll see. I trust this regime and this front office to be able to make the right decisions, man. Joe Shane definitely seems to be a guy that's very knowledgeable about the players that he's going to put in position to try to get wins for the New York Giants. So I definitely trust it. Big shout out to you, John. We appreciate you rocking with us. You know what it is. You're welcome here all day long. Let me see. Stephen Lilly says, I'm sorry, Awthentik. You're totally wrong. Build a team, then draft a new quarterback, or beat Jones all over again. We'll see, man. I mean, if it was Patrick Mahomes, or if it was Josh Allen, or if it was Jalen Hurts, it wouldn't be looking like Daniel Jones in this system. But Stephen, I definitely respect your opinion. Salute to you for pulling up. Shout out to the gang, man. I see y'all with the biceps early. We might go live later on tonight. We'll see, man. I feel like I got a lot more to talk about in this game, and I feel like y'all got a lot more to talk about. We could have did a lot more of a Q&A vibe here. This one, they always fly by, man. But I'm gonna take this session real quick with my homie Manny, the true MC, man, dope MC out of DC. He's coming through, man. We're gonna drop some bars in session, doing some production for him. Shout out to all of y'all for tuning in, man. This was a vibe, man. This was definitely a vibe. I didn't see Mobster Music saying too much, so let me bring up what Mobster got to say right here. He says, was it me or did that O-line let Daniel get smashed and they helped for Tyrone? I like I said Tyrod Taylor. The offensive line unit that was in for Tyrod was a lot different than the offensive line unit that was in for Daniel Jones. And the Eagles at that point had a lot of backups out there on the field as well. So take that into consideration, man. Shout out to all of y'all, man. I appreciate the fam rocking with me today, man. We had some high numbers throughout, man. And after a frustrating loss like that to the Eagles, man, when you straight up get dog walked 48-22, it's very difficult to wake up and even want to talk about football. But, this is why we built this space here, man. This was definitely a vibe, definitely a cool little therapy session for everybody, man. I appreciate all of y'all pulling up. Y'all know what it is, man. Keep living those dreams, man. Keep raising that bar, man. The universe flows in Technicolor and surround sound. Shout out to Combat Jack, the podcast GOAT of this stuff, man. The one that really got me involved and really wanted me to try to, put my voice out there into the community, not just in football, but when it comes to all aspects of life. So big salute to Combat Jack. Big salute to y'all. Keep your eyes peeled, man. We might do something later tonight. We'll see, man. Maybe I'll bring the beard on. We could talk about this game. We'll see how things go, man. But definitely, again, I appreciate all of y'all coming here, voicing your opinions, and, chopping it up with me about the New York Giants, man. Made me feel a lot better about this loss. I'm sure y'all feel a lot better about it moving forward. This team's got to get off the bench here, man. This last stretch here has not been good. It has not been good. So we'll see what they do. We'll see how this coaching staff goes back to the drawing board and see what they can dial up, man. I hope Brian Daboll has some tricks up his sleeve for Washington this Sunday Night Football, primetime game. We know Daniel Jones is 0 for 11 on primetime. Hopefully we can fix that on Sunday and, start working our way to the playoffs, because that's what I want. I don't know if that's what y'all want, but I want to see more wins from this team, and I want to see us get a shot. I think a playoff berth would be really great for a young team like this to gain some experience down the stretch and going into next season, trying to build a bit of more of a rock for the foundation. So, again, big salute to y'all. Appreciate all the biceps in the chat, man. Salute to everybody that engaged on this, this discussion today. All the super chats, man, all the vibes in the chat. Big salute to y'all. Y'all know what this is about. This is all about the Giants gang and the family in this chat, man. Can't say much more about it. Y'all know what it is. Keep living those dreams. Keep raising that bar, man. I'll see y'all. Peace out.